Chapter 3596. Blood Slaughter Emperor, the Heavenly Scar Divine. Master knew very well who the person in front of him was. The name Blood Slaughter Emperor represented a storm of blood in the three great battlefields. He had no attachments and did not even have any good friends. He could be said to be a completely eccentric and unusual person. However, such a person had a terrifying strength that shocked the world. Although he was only a principal's master, but he had once fought three pinnacle of the sixth realm head-on with his own strength. Moreover, he had defeated those three pinnacle of the sixth realm head-on. He had also killed an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, and it was not just one. Like Blood Spirit King and Blood Blade Emperor, these two people could be considered top-notch existences among the pinnacle of the sixth realm, especially Blood Spirit King. He could be ranked in the top 10 among the many principals masters in this territory. However, Blood Spirit King was far inferior to Blood Slaughter Emperor. Blood Slaughter Emperor was also said to be the strongest principal's master a long time ago, but he was not recognized by the public. Most principals masters secretly thought so. However, compared to Jian Wushuang, who had passed the battle result that convinced everyone on the spot was still slightly inferior. However, Blood Slaughter Emperor had not used his full strength for many years. Who knew how strong he was now? When such a super existence saw the battle between Jian Wushuang and Blood Spirit King, he immediately admitted that Jian Wushuang was powerful. Naturally, Heavenly Scar, Divine Master, would be surprised. Blood Slaughter, who is stronger between you and Blood Sword Master? Heavenly Scar, Divine Master, asked curiously. This it's hard to say. Blood Slaughter Emperor shook his head. He said, from the strength he displayed, he has already created an absolute art at the ruler realm. And there are more than one. The power of that absolute art is also extraordinary. Under normal circumstances, to create an absolute art at the ruler realm, one must have already fused 4 types of laws to become a ruler, or his understanding of the Tao has reached a completely new realm. It is said that many rulers have never reached that realm. The Blood Sword Master clearly belongs to the second category. His understanding of the Tao of the sword has reached a whole new level. Therefore, even though he is only casually using his sword, he is still able to sense it. Although I am relieved, I have yet to reach this level. In other words, in terms of understanding of the Tao and ultimate arts, I am far inferior to him. However, the power I have is much stronger than his. The difference in power alone can make up for a lot of things. Therefore, if I face him head-on now, it's hard to say who will win. Jian Wushuang had Blood Demon Cave armor, a top-tier universe supreme treasure, which could instantly unleash 10 times the power of experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. Therefore, in terms of power, he was much stronger than many experts at the pinnacle of the sixth realm, even Blood Spirit King, and the others were completely crushed by Jian Wushuang in terms of power. Even so, Blood Slaughter Emperor still dared to say that he was much stronger than Jian Wushuang in terms of power, and that he could make up for the gap between him and Jian Wushuang in terms of absolute arts. It was clear how powerful the power of Blood Slaughter Emperor was. However, this was normal. After all, many people knew the true identity of Blood Slaughter Emperor. He was not an ordinary human cultivator, but a special life form. As a special life form, he had a huge innate advantage. After reaching the peak of the six realms, he could unleash the strongest power of the Blood Slaughter Emperor with the help of the 7th level willpower and some secret skills. The gap between him and a real ruler was not very big. Because of this, before Jian Wushuang's rise, he was regarded as the strongest principal's master by so many people. Blood Slaughter. After this battle, Blood Spirit King, Blood Blade Emperor, And Thunderblaze Master admitted that Blood Sword Master is the strongest principles master on the spot, and most of the experts in this territory have tacitly agreed. This means that he is above you, Heavenly Scar Divine Master said. Humph, it's just a title of being the strongest. It's not a big deal. Besides, what they said is right. Blood Sword Master is indeed qualified to be called the strongest, Blood Slaughter Emperor said, seriously. Heavenly Scar, look at the magic weapon in Blood Sword Master's hand. You should be able to see the level of the magic weapon, right? I can see that it's only a senior universe true treasure. Although it's a top-tier senior universe true treasure, it's still weaker than a top-tier true treasure, said Heavenly Scar Divine Master. That means he can defeat Blood Spirit King, and the others with only a senior universe true treasure. It shows how powerful he is. As for fighting with him, it's hard to tell who will win. He only uses a senior universe true treasure as a godly weapon. But with his current power, it'll be easy for him to get a top-tier universe true treasure. Blood Slaughter Emperor smiled. What's more, if the Star Palace behind him is willing to spend some effort to get him a godly sword at the level of a pinnacle universe true treasure, just like my blade, his combat power will definitely increase by a large margin. If I were to face him again, my chances of winning would be less than 30%. Is that so? Heavenly Scar Divine Master raised his eyebrows, and he suddenly understood. He knew that Blood Slaughter Emperor had been alone in the 3 battlefields for a long time and had obtained some opportunities. The level of the true treasure in his hands was also very high. The saber on his back was a pinnacle universe true treasure. As for his body-protecting true treasure armor, it was also at the level of a pinnacle universe true treasure. Previously, Blood Slaughter Emperor said that it was difficult to predict the outcome of the fight with Jian Wushuang because Jian Wushuang only used an advanced universe true treasure as a weapon. If Jian Wushuang got a stronger offensive magic weapon, the odds of victory would naturally lean toward Jian Wushuang. Since you don't care about this reputation of being the strongest and have acknowledged Blood Sword Master's strength, then I have nothing more to say. I'm leaving. Heavenly Scar Divine Master stood up and rushed toward the void beside him. Thank you. Although Blood Slaughter Emperor was cold, he still expressed his gratitude to Heavenly Scar Divine Master today. The Heavenly Scar Divine Master waved his hand and soon disappeared from the Blood Slaughter Emperor's sight. After the Heavenly Scar Divine Master left, the Blood Slaughter Emperor slowly stood up. An unprecedented light flashed in his eyes. Like a bolt of lightning, it directly cut through the sky. The blood-colored demonic saber on his back also trembled slightly. It hummed. The Blood Slaughter Emperor stretched out his hand to grab the hilt of the saber. The corners of his mouth were still muttering, "After so many years, there's finally an opponent who can make me excited in this territory. Even you can't help but be excited? Blood Sword Master, I really want to meet him." Chapter 3597. The crisis had arrived in the vast universe. In the boundless dark void, a triangular gray palace was floating casually. Within the palace, 2 figures were leisurely sitting there playing chess and sipping tea. One of these 2 had an old and unkempt face. He was the strongest among the acknowledged principles masters in the divine beginning realm. He was also the oldest living old monster, Darkbone. As for the other person, he was his good friend, the ruler realm powerhouse, Life Fall King, Darkbone. Although the divine beginning realm you are in is only a 3rd-grade astral world, the geniuses that are born are truly extraordinary. There was once a Di Shursan, who appeared because he obtained a unique opportunity. Later on, he stepped into the origin of the sword universe. His swordsmanship is extremely powerful, and he can even sweep away ordinary rulers. And now, there is a heavenly sword marquis who also stepped into the origin of the sword universe. He is exactly the same as D. Shursen back then. Life Fall King said, "No, he is stronger than D. Shursan." Elder Darkbone laughed, leisurely. D. Shursan, although his talent in sword Dao is unparalleled and is not weaker than the heavenly sword marquis in other aspects, he is far from being as terrifying as the heavenly sword marquis. Don't forget that the heavenly sword marquis is a perfect creature, and up until now he is only at the immortal saint realm. Immortal saint? Yes, I forgot that he's only a saint now. Life Fall King also smiled. He glanced at the void next to him. There was a mirror image of Jian Wushuang fighting with Blood Spirit King and the other three. Among them, the attacks of Thunderblaze Master, and the other two hit Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang's divine body was not shaken at all. I can see that he has indeed gotten a great opportunity over the years. He even got a supreme treasure armor. Such a level of supreme treasure armor is extremely precious even for us rulers. Life Fall King was, after all, a super expert at the ruler realm. He could tell at a glance that the reason why Jian Wushuang could release such powerful power and protect his body was because of the supreme treasure armor on his body. This true treasure armor must be a pinnacle true treasure armor, and it might even be the best among pinnacle true treasure armors. A pinnacle true treasure armor was extremely precious in this territory. Even a master realm expert would attach great importance to it, not to mention a principal's master. After all, most of the rulers in this territory did not have a supreme true treasure. Many of them only had pinnacle true treasures. If there were pinnacle true treasure level offensive godly weapons, some of the principal's masters would have them. For example, Blood Slaughter Emperor had a pinnacle true treasure level blade, but pinnacle true treasure armors were not owned by principal's masters. This territory did not have them. After all, even if some great beings had a ruler realm great being as their backer, or even the family members of a ruler realm great being, this ruler would definitely not be able to take out a pinnacle true treasure armor to protect his opponent, unless he was lucky enough to get such a treasure. Jian Wushuang was obviously the kind of person who had encountered such a great opportunity. Darkbone, this little guy has shown great strength. Now he has been recognized as the strongest principal's master in this territory. His strength is not much weaker than yours. You have to work harder, or this little guy will really catch up to you, Life Fall King said. Ha ha ha. I don't intend to compare myself with this little fellow. Moreover, with his improvement speed, he will surpass me sooner or later. If I were to compete with him now, wouldn't I be looking for trouble? Elder Darkbone laughed strangely. It's rare for you to be so open-minded. Life Fall King also laughed. The two continued to drink tea. However, if the other experts in this territory heard their conversation, they would definitely be very surprised, because among the many principal's masters in this territory, although Elder Darkbone was also very famous and powerful, even stronger than Blood Spirit King in the minds of most experts, Elder Darkbone should be ranked in the top 5 among all principal's masters. He could only be ranked in the top 5, not even in the top 3, let alone compared to Blood Slaughter Emperor, who was ranked first, and Jian Wushuang, who was now called the strongest. Everyone thought so. During the conversation between Elder Darkbone and Life Fall King clearly thought that there was still a gap between Jian Wushuang's strength and Elder Darkbone's. Even Elder Darkbone himself did not deny that it was strange. However, since they were talking here, no one around them heard their conversation, so naturally their conversation could not be spread. In the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, it had been more than a year since the battle between Jian Wushuang and the 5 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm. Over the past year, the news of the battle had spread like wildfire. Countless experts from various forces in the astral world knew about it. Everyone knew that in this territory, the most powerful principal's master was Blood Sword Master. Although the news spread like wildfire in the outside world, as the main character of this matter, Jian Wushuang had been very calm. He had been traveling in the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley toward the Wuxin Lake. Because of that battle, no one would pay attention to him now. However, he still had to be careful and return to the Star Palace for a period of time to wait for the news to die down. He could also think of a way to cultivate the first level of the supreme indestructible mystic body that he had obtained in that special space-time. The supreme indestructible mystic body was an internal star's secret art from planet Lingyun. Planet Lingyun was once the overlord of a region in the deepest part of the universe. Its internal star secret art was naturally extremely powerful. As long as he could cultivate the first level, his divine body would be comparable to a primary universe supreme treasure. At that time, with such a divine body and the protective ability of the Blood Demon Cave armor, he would be truly fearless. He would dare to face the Overlord head-on, but now he was still a little inferior. The supreme imperishable celestial body requires a large number of natural treasures to assist in cultivation. The first level alone requires rare natural treasures. I wonder if the Star Palace has any way to get it. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. At this moment, he was getting closer and closer to Wuxin Lake. It was less than half a month's journey, at most. At this point, Jian Wushuang was slightly relaxed. But at this time, a crisis quietly emerged. Jian Wushuang was originally flying forward, but suddenly a figure appeared in front of him. This person, looking at the figure in front of him, Jian Wushuang's expression changed. His soul power had been sweeping away while he was traveling. Although his soul power did not cover a wide area, as long as someone appeared in his soul perception range, he could immediately sense it. But the person in front of him was clearly in his soul perception range, but he did not notice it at all. Chapter 3598. The Great Enemy. With my current strength, I can ignore the detection of my soul power and appear in front of me silently. There is only a ruler. Jian Wushuang's expression immediately became extremely solemn. He knew that his experience over the years was a bit strange. It would attract the attention of many experts and might even attract a ruler realm expert. Therefore, even if he had absolute battle strength that could ignore the principal's master, he did not dare to let his guard down on the way until he was close to the Wuxin Lake. He had just breathed a sigh of relief. He did not expect that big trouble would come at this time. An expert of the ruler realm really came to find him. The ruler in front of him was a tall man. His aura was cold, and his expression was extremely cold. Jian Wushuang did not know who the ruler in front of him was. However, he still said respectfully, "Blood Sword greets the ruler. You have good eyesight. You can see that I am the ruler at a glance." The tall man's voice was low, and he had just finished speaking. This little guy is recognized as the strongest principal's master in this territory. Of course, he has good eyesight. A bewitching laughter suddenly sounded from behind Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He immediately turned his head and found a wicked young man in a blood-red cloak floating in the void behind him. He glanced at the tall man. The wicked young man also quietly appeared behind him. This made Jian Wushuang's heart chill. Not only one, but two rulers. Jian Wushuang might not be so worried about one ruler. With his current strength, he should be able to resist one or two rulers. It would not be easy for them to kill him. However, there were two rulers which put too much pressure on Jian Wushuang. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice, "How did the two rulers find me?" He did not understand. He had been very careful along the way, and there were no experts around him. The Devil's Smoke Valley was so huge that even if there were rulers who had their eyes on him, it would be very difficult to find him, but the two rulers had found him. Heavenly Sword Marquis, do you think that we can't find you as long as there are no experts around you? You're underestimating the abilities of a ruler realm expert. To be exact, you're underestimating me. Although the depths of Devil's Smoke Valley are vast, it's still very easy for me to find a person. Moreover, I already know your location. As long as I use this location as a starting point to search around, it'll be easier to find you. The demonic youth sneered. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's expression turned cold. Heavenly Sword Marquis, he called me Heavenly Sword Marquis? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. It must be known that he had always considered himself as Blood Sword Master since the beginning of his adventures in the 3 battlefields. As for his identity as Heavenly Sword Marquis, even in Star Palace, only Acts 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, and the others knew about it. As for the Heavy Master, who had first come into contact with Jian Wushuang, none of the other experts knew about it. As for the experts from the various star worlds and forces in the territory outside Star Palace, they naturally did not know about it. Everyone only knew that he was Blood Sword Master, but the 2 masters who had just arrived called him Heavenly Sword Marquis. In an instant, Jian Wushuang understood the identities and origins of the 2 masters. These 2 are the helpers invited by the 3 Saint Realms. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly. After understanding their origins, he no longer felt any sense of luck. Since they were the experts invited by the 3 Saint Realms, no matter what he said or did, they would definitely kill him. After understanding this, Jian Wushuang immediately made a decision. Run! A power of space-time principles rose from Jian Wushuang's body, and he immediately planned to use space-time teleportation to escape. Space-time teleportation. This was Jian Wushuang's life-saving trump card. Because it was his trump card, he had never used it when he was wandering in Devil's Smoke Valley. Even though he had been targeted by so many experts and had become a hot potato in the eyes of so many people, he did not want to use this trump card to escape from their sight, because he did not want to expose this move in advance. But now, facing 2 masters, he knew that he had no way to fight them, so he could only use it to escape. However, as soon as he activated the power of the space-time principles, a powerful space-time power that made him feel suffocated instantly filled the entire world, covering the vast world around him. The space-time imprisonment took shape in an instant. Moreover, the strength of the space-time imprisonment was beyond Jian Wushuang's imagination. Although his understanding of the space-time principles was not low, he could break the ordinary space-time imprisonment with the help of the heavenly golden banner. He could break it directly. However, the space-time imprisonment that he was facing now was hundreds of times stronger than the ordinary space-time imprisonment. It was the first time he had seen such a powerful time-space restriction. We already know your background, and we also know that you have mastered time-space teleportation. Unfortunately, your time-space teleportation is useless in front of me. The evil-looking young man smiled faintly. This man is a ruler realm expert who is good at time-space principles. Jian Wushuang immediately looked at the evil-looking young man. A strange look flashed in his eyes, but in the next moment he suddenly rushed toward the void to the side, and his speed reached its peak. He knew very well that the time and space restriction could only restrict him from using time and space teleportation, but it did not mean that he could not continue to escape. However, just as Jian Wushuang moved, a tall figure blocked in front of him. So fast! Jian Wushuang was shocked. He tried to escape as fast as he could, but the tall man was already in front of him after only 2 steps. His speed was not something he could compare to. Don't struggle, just die. The tall man stared at Jian Wushuang with cold eyes. a large amount of silver light surged on his right hand, forming a huge silver claw that rushed out like lightning. The void was almost torn apart. The power of a ruler was undoubtedly displayed at this moment. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank when he saw the silver claw coming at him. Blood light surged on his body, and the power of the Blood Demon Cave armor, which was 10 times stronger than the pinnacle of the sixth realm, burst out instantly. At the same time, the life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill were also displayed at this moment. Chapter 3599, Strength of a Ruler Buzz. With a faint sword hum, a pitch-black divine sword appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. This pitch-black divine sword was the one Jian Wushuang had obtained after killing 9 sword demon master. It was called Black Prison, and it was on the way to Wuxin Lake with a top-tier universe supreme treasure. The power of Jian Wushuang's attack could be enhanced to another level. Whoosh! A violent blood-red sword shadow swept across the area. After it took shape, it turned into a burning purple flame and instantly covered the area. It was Jian Wushuang's most powerful ultimate skill, which had reached the advanced level of the 7th level Starfire Burning Sun. Jian Wushuang did not dare to take any chances against an expert at the ruler realm. In an instant, he completely unleashed his strongest power. Bang! A clear, cracking sound rang out. When the silver claw and the sword shadow came into contact, their powers immediately collided, tearing a crack in space. A terrifying devouring power was created from the crack, devouring all the power in the surroundings. Jian Wushuang's body shook violently, and then he shot out in a sorry state. It took him a long time to regain his balance. So powerful! I have instantly unleashed my strongest strength, even using my life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill at the same time. He obviously did not use all of his strength, but I was still completely crushed by him. An expert at the ruler realm is too terrifying. Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. What he did not know was that the tall man who was fighting with him was even more shocked at this moment. My palm is slightly numb. The tall man glanced at his palm. He could clearly sense how powerful Jian Wushuang's sword attack was. That sword attack had completely exceeded the scope of the principal's master and was close to the ruler realm. He also recognized the level 7 advanced absolute art that Jian Wushuang had used at a glance. He's only at the level of a saint. The tall man was an expert at the level of a ruler. He could tell at a glance that Jian Wushuang's true realm was still that of an immortal saint. How could a saint's battle strength be close to that of a ruler? This caused the killing intent in the tall man's heart to rise to a whole new level. Luo, suppress him, the tall man said coldly. No problem. The evil-looking young man smiled indifferently. With a thought, the space-time power, which had been confined and frozen, surged toward Jian Wushuang like a tsunami. An unprecedented space-time power pressed on Jian Wushuang's body. This kind of pressure, Jian Wushuang's face changed dramatically. It was not that he had never used time and space pressure on others, but the time and space pressure exerted by the evil-looking young man was many times stronger than his. With his almost invincible battle strength among the principal's masters, he could not move under the pressure of time and space. Yes, he could not move at all. Even when the tall man appeared in front of him again, and the silver claw was stronger and more dazzling than before, he could not resist at all. Whoosh! The silver claw directly tore at Jian Wushuang's divine body, trying to tear it in half. However, Jian Wushuang's body was protected by the Blood Demon Cave armor, which was a top-tier universe supreme treasure. An attack at the ruler realm naturally could not tear it apart. However, the silver claw still left 5 huge white marks on the Blood Demon Cave armor. At the same time, the shocking power of the claw was greatly weakened by the Blood Demon Cave armor. A part of it still rushed into Jian Wushuang's divine body. Humph! Jian Wushuang grunted and retreated again. Supreme Universe Treasure Armor? The tall man looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. He knew the power of his claw. He could kill an ordinary principal's master in an instant, but now he could see it. Jian Wushuang was not seriously injured. He immediately understood that Jian Wushuang was wearing a Supreme Universe True Treasure Armor of an extraordinary quality, as expected of a ruler. The Blood Demon Cave armor did not disappoint me. Even a ruler realm attack could weaken more than 90% of its power, so I only lost 1% of my divine power. Jian Wushuang was secretly happy. His divine power was vast, far beyond that of the principal's masters. In addition, the Blood Demon Cave armor's protective ability was indeed powerful. Therefore, even if he took the attack head-on from the tall man, he still only lost 1% of his divine power. However, do not underestimate this 1%. With his divine power, this 1% of divine power was more than the entire divine power of many principals' masters. After the power of the tall man's claw was weakened by the Blood Demon Cave armor, it showed how terrifying his strength was. If I knew this kid had the protection of a Pinnacle Universe True Treasure Armor, I would have brought that thing with me, the tall man said coldly. But it doesn't matter. I just need a little more time. As soon as he finished his words, the tall man attacked again, but Jian Wushuang's pupils suddenly shrank. He knew very well that his body protection ability was good, but he could not ignore the tall man's attack. Perhaps the tall man could only destroy 1% of his divine power in one attack, but he knew clearly that an expert at the ruler realm. How fast could he attack? One attack could destroy 1% of his divine power, so 100 attacks would be enough to kill him. I can't fight him. I have to escape. Jian Wushuang bit his lip and turned his head, shooting toward the young man behind him. The black hell divine sword in his hand emitted a cold light, and the sword light pointed toward the young man. Oh, you want to find a way out from me? The young man smiled when he saw this. He still stood there quietly without any intention to attack. However, the moment he looked at Jian Wushuang, boom. The boundless power of the space-time principles was like a terrifying wave that rushed toward Jian Wushuang. The terrifying space-time impact almost suffocated Jian Wushuang. He could not get close to the young man. However, in the face of such an impact, Jian Wushuang's mouth curled into a strange smile that was difficult to notice. A token had appeared on his left hand. This token was the life-saving token given to him by Temporal Temple Master. Now, the token had been crushed by his fingers. Chapter 3600, Traces of Time and Space. The young man with a strange smile finally changed his expression when he saw the token in Jian Wushuang's hand. What a cunning boy. He deliberately pretended to fight with me in close combat so that I could use the suppression of time and space, but he secretly prepared a way to escape. The young man narrowed his eyes. Under normal circumstances, if Jian Wushuang wanted to do something, such as crushing the token, he would not be able to escape from his eyes. However, he could completely crush the token before Jian Wushuang did. Jian Wushuang could not move due to the pressure of the space-time power, so his token could not be crushed. However, he had already used the space-time impact, which allowed Jian Wushuang to find a gap. Bang! As soon as the token broke, the surrounding void shook, and a vast space-time power suddenly swept up. For a time, the space-time rule power around Jian Wushuang was blocked. Even under the impact of the space-time power from the token, the space-time restriction in the void immediately loosened a little bit. The space-time means contained in the token seems to be quite extraordinary. Looking at the void in front of him, the evil-looking young man waved his hand, and instantly the endless power of space-time was once again pressed crazily. However, His speed was still a bit slower because the space-time around Jian Wushuang had been torn apart. The appearance of this gap, it gave Jian Wushuang the opportunity to escape. Buzz. Jian Wushuang's figure flashed, and he used the space-time teleportation and disappeared in an instant. Seeing Jian Wushuang disappear, the demonic youth's face immediately darkened. Luo, you let a little guy at the saint-level escape under your eyes. You have lost a lot of face. The tall man walked over. Humph, he can't escape. A trace of coldness flashed in the eyes of the demonic youth. Then he waved his hand again, and the space where Jian Wushuang had disappeared immediately stirred up a trace of space-time fluctuation. The space-time fluctuation became stronger and stronger. Finally, it formed a space gap. Let's go. The demonic youth and the tall man directly flew into the space gap and disappeared in the blink of an eye. In the void that was a certain distance away, whoosh! Jian Wushuang quietly appeared and looked at the surrounding void. He was slightly relieved. Fortunately, the temporal temple master gave me a protective order talisman. This protective order talisman can not only ensure my safety in the divine beginning realm, but I can also rely on it to escape from the pursuit of a ruler realm expert in the universe battlefield. Jian Wushuang murmured softly. He was very grateful to Temporal Temple Master. He knew very well that if Temporal Temple Master had not given him the life-saving token, he would not have survived the two ruler realm experts. It's a pity that I only have one life-saving token. If I use it this time, I won't be able to escape from such a situation next time. Jian Wushuang sighed and prepared to rush toward Wuxin Lake from another direction. He had teleported to his current location, which was not too far away from Wuxin Lake. However, just as Jian Wushuang was about to leave, buzz! The void behind him began to tremble violently. What? Jian Wushuang's expression suddenly changed, and he immediately looked toward the void. As a result, he saw that the void behind him directly cracked, and a small space-time crack appeared, followed by two whooshing noises. Two figures stepped out of the small space-time crack. They were the two masters who had surrounded him. How is this possible? Seeing the tall man and the evil-looking young man appear in front of him again, Jian Wushuang's face turned extremely ugly. Humph, Heavenly Sword Marquis, I didn't expect you to have such a life-saving talisman. If I'm not wrong, it must have been given to you by the Temporal Temple Master of the Divine Beginning Realm. The evil-looking young man sneered. I've heard of the Temporal Temple Master before. I thought he was just a master who had some ability in time and space. But judging from the life-saving talisman he gave you, his understanding of time and space is indeed very high. I guess he is no less than me. Unfortunately, although he gave you the life-saving talisman, he only let you break through my time and space shackles to let you escape. But your understanding of the principles of time and space is too low. You don't know how to erase your time and space traces, so I can catch up with you based on the time and space traces you left behind. Time and space traces. Jian Wushuang's body trembled. He had underestimated a ruler realm expert, especially a ruler who was very good at time and space like the demonic young man. For a ruler of this level, even if you had used time and space teleportation to leave, as long as you left behind a time and space trace, he could follow you. Jian Wushuang's understanding of time-space was obviously not at that level, and he did not know how to completely erase his time-space trace. Now, the two rulers had caught up with him again, but he did not have a second life-saving command talisman. Can I only fight for my life? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. The more he was in a crisis, the calmer he appeared. Although he did not have a second life-saving command token, he still had some trump cards in his hands. With these trump cards, he still had a chance to struggle. Why don't you give up? Do you still want to struggle? The young man sneered. However, just as the young man was about to control the power of time and space to press down on Jian Wushuang again, without any warning, the power of the space-time principles in the void completely froze. Huh! The young man's expression changed, and he looked up at the void in front of him. There, an old man with silver-white hair and a gray robe was slowly walking over. His steps were slow, but each step contained a special mystery. Every step he took resonated with the surrounding space and time. An expert at the level of a ruler joined hands to bully a little guy from our temporal temple. Isn't this a little inappropriate? A deep voice came out of the silver-haired elder's mouth and reverberated in the void. The silver-haired elder had already arrived beside Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed when he saw him. Temple Master! Jian Wushuang immediately bowed. Temple Master, of course, was the Temporal Temple Master. Chapter 36, A1. Escape, little guy, are you okay? Temporal Temple Master looked at Jian Wushuang. I'm fine, but I've already used the life-saving command talisman you gave me. Jian Wushuang said, That's good. As for the life-saving command talisman, I only gave it to you in the divine beginning realm, but in the universe battlefield, it can't completely protect you from death. Moreover, you're facing a ruler who specializes in space-time techniques. Temporal Temple Master smiled slightly. Then, he looked at the two people in front of him. The two of you should be from Devil Cloud Star, right? I wonder if that Devil Cloud Star Master is doing well? The Temporal Temple Master asked. My Star Master has great strength. Naturally, he's doing very well. You're the Temporal Temple Master from the divine beginning realm? It seems that you're just a low-level ruler. The tall man stared at the Temporal Temple Master. There was a hint of disdain between his brows. Rulers had different levels of power. A low-grade ruler was at the bottom of the rulers. Even though the tall man and the devilish young man were only at the low-grade ruler realm, the two of them had great backgrounds and had seen many things. They were also extremely powerful. An ordinary low-grade ruler would naturally not take them to heart. I know that I'm not strong enough. However, this place is no longer the territory of the Devil Cloud Star. Can the two of you give me some face and call it a day? The Temporal Temple Master said. Call it a day? Temporal Temple Master, you really know how to joke. The tall man's voice was cold. Although you didn't participate in the battle in the divine beginning realm, you already know the reason behind it. Since that's the case, you should know the purpose of our trip. If you know what's good for you, you should just get lost. Otherwise, you should know the consequences. Of course, I know the consequences. However, this little guy is still a member of our temporal temple. Right now, he's right under my nose. As the temple master, I can't just ignore this little guy, said the temporal temple master. If that's the case, then you should die together with him. The tall man's aura was cold, and a shocking killing intent had already burst out from his body. Temporal temple master, in that battle back then, you were able to keep your life because you hid far away. However, since you want to intervene today, then there's no need for your temporal temple to exist anymore. The demonic youth said in a low voice. Ha ha! The temporal temple master suddenly laughed. The two of you are overestimating yourselves. Although this old man is only a primary ruler and doesn't have the confidence to win against any of you one-on-one, if this old man wants to leave, I'm afraid the two of you won't be able to stop this old man. Really? The young man's eyes turned cold, and the surrounding void instantly froze. The entire space-time had completely stopped flowing, and everything had stopped moving. Standing in the void, Jian Wushuang could clearly sense the changes in the surrounding space-time, and he was immediately shocked. What a terrifying space-time technique. This man didn't even use his full strength before. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. He knew that if the evil-looking young man had used this technique from the beginning, he would not have been able to crush the life-saving talisman. However, in the face of such a space-time technique, the temporal temple master just smiled and waved his hand. Like a spring breeze, the space-time around him began to revolve again, and the speed was increasing. The area was also growing larger and larger. In just an instant, the space-time power of this world was completely under the control of Temporal Temple Master. How is this possible? The demonic youth looked at Temporal Temple Master in shock. Ha! I've already said that if I want to leave, the two of you won't be able to stop me. Goodbye. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks. As soon as he finished speaking, he saw Temporal Temple Master grab Jian Wushuang with one hand. With a flash, he disappeared into the void. After Temporal Temple Master disappeared, the fast-moving void regained its calm. The evil-looking young man and the tall man both stood in the void with unsightly expressions, especially the evil-looking young man. He glanced at the void where Temporal Temple Master had disappeared and found that the traces of space-time remained for a brief moment, but suddenly they were completely wiped out, and even he could not continue to chase after them. It seems that we have underestimated this Temporal Temple Master, the demonic youth said in a low voice. Although this Temporal Temple Master is only a primary ruler, his usage of space-time energy is indeed extraordinary. In fact, he is much stronger than me. Just now, this demonic youth had actually fought head-on against the Temporal Temple Master, but the result of this battle was that the Temporal Temple Master had won. With a ruler realm expert who uses space-time energy in such a profound way as a helper, it won't be so easy for us to continue attacking Heavenly Sword Marquis, the demonic youth said. That's true, but it's not as if we don't have a chance. After all, this time, it's just the two of us. Both of us are only elementary rulers, and the High Ruler who came with us this time is still on Sacred Island. That treasure is also with him, the tall man said. That's true. The evil-looking young man nodded slightly. Let's go back. The two rulers felt a little regretful that they could not kill Jian Wushuang, but they did not give up. Instead, they returned to the Sacred Island and began to think again. In the void, Temporal Temple Master also appeared quietly. After he appeared, Jian Wushuang immediately looked around, but he did not see the two rulers again. Don't worry. I've erased the traces of space while I'm moving. They won't be able to catch up, Temporal Temple Master said with a smile. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh of relief and then bowed respectfully to Temporal Temple Master. Thank you for saving me, Temple Master. You're welcome. You're a subordinate of the Temporal Temple. It's my duty to save you. Temporal Temple Master waved his hand. Jian Wushuang also smiled, but then he asked, Temple Master, why are you here? Jian Wushuang was indeed puzzled. Haha, it's very simple. I arrived at the Wuxin lake a few days ago. I originally planned to wait for you at the lake, but on the way, I sensed a strong energy fluctuation in the surrounding void. It must have been an expert at the ruler realm, so I went there to take a look. However, before I arrived, I sensed that you used my life-saving talisman. Temporal Temple Master paused for a moment, and then said, I immediately understood that the ruler might be targeting you, so I used space-time to come here. Is that so? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows, and then said in surprise, Wuxin Lake, you are the Temple Master's good friend. Chapter 3602, Return to Star Palace. Temporal Temple Master was the good friend that Star Palace Master invited to pick him up. This news surprised Jian Wushuang. Why are you surprised? Temporal Temple Master smiled. Actually, it's nothing. Star Palace Master is the sect master of the 7-star mysterious sect. Since our Temporal Temple and the 7-star mysterious sect are in the divine beginning realm, We naturally have some connections. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath. He had met the Heaven Ancestor when he was in the Star Palace. Since the Heaven Ancestor could stay in the Star Palace all year round, he naturally had a good relationship with the Star Palace. Temporal Temple Master and Palace Master Star Palace were also good friends, and it was obvious that they chose to stand on the Star Palace's side. This immediately caused many ideas to appear in Jian Wushuang's mind. Temple Master, you mentioned Devil Cloud Star Master to the two rulers just now. What sect does Devil Cloud Star belong to? Jian Wushuang asked again. This question Temporal Temple Master pondered for a moment and said, "This is extraordinary. It'll take you back to Star Palace first, and then talk about it slowly." Okay. Jian Wushuang also nodded. He could also see that this so-called Devil Cloud Star was probably his most important enemy. Soon, the two of them started to return to Star Palace. With Temporal Temple Master leading the way, Jian Wushuang's speed was naturally many times faster. Just a year later, he had already walked out of Devil's Smoke Valley and returned to Star Palace. Jian Wushuang stood alone in a magnificent palace in Star Palace. Three figures slowly appeared in front of him. The three people standing on the far left were the Temporal Temple Master, who had just brought him back to Star Palace. The one standing on the far right was a woodcutter wearing a simple black robe and a bamboo hat. This woodcutter was the Heaven Ancestor, Desolation Emperor, who had taught him how to master the destructive will. As for the person standing in the middle, he was dressed in a green Taoist robe. His hair and beard were white, and he stood barefoot. He looked like an ordinary Taoist, but he was such a Taoist. However, he was qualified to stand in the middle of the three people. His invisible aura was obviously stronger than that of the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor. Seeing the Taoist in the middle, Jian Wushuang was shocked. "Senior Xianshen, oh no, it's Palace Master." Jian Wushuang immediately bowed respectfully. "Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site." Thanks, that was right. The Taoist in the middle was Xianshen, who had helped him to the divine, beginning realm. At the same time, he was the Palace Master of Star Palace. Moreover, the Temporal Temple Master had personally admitted that Xianshen was one of the three master-level experts of the Seven-Star Mysterious Sect, the sect master of the Seven-Star Mysterious Sect. "Ha, little guy, we finally meet again." Taoist Xianshen looked at Jian Wushuang with a gentle expression, as if he was basking in the sunshine. "You disappeared in Devil's Smoke Valley for almost 100,000 years. Even I thought you were dead. At that time, I was sad and disappointed, but fortunately, I survived and my strength increased so much. Ha, this is a big surprise. It seems that Xian was right about you." "You flatter me," Jian Wushuang said humbly. In the face of three masters, all of whom were legendary figures in the divine beginning realm, Jian Wushuang would never be able to defeat them, no matter how talented he was, not a hint of arrogance. "Little fellow, know why three people want to see you at the same time today?" Taoist Xianshen looked down. "I don't know." Jian Wushuang shook his head. "Actually, I didn't expect to see you so soon. I just didn't expect you to improve so quickly. In just 100,000 years, you've already reached the strongest level among Principal's masters. Moreover, you've already come into contact with Devil Cloud Star. Therefore, after careful discussion, the three of us decided to come to see you together. We'll tell you the whole story, including the battle that destroyed the Seven-Star Mysterious Sect and the biggest secret hidden in the divine beginning realm." Taoist Xian God's expression became serious. The biggest secret hidden in the divine beginning realm. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He raised his head and found that not only Taoist Xianshen but also Temporal Temple Master and Desolation Emperor had grave expressions on their faces. Jian Wushuang could not help taking a deep breath. He had been a man for 2 lifetimes. From his last life, he knew that he had a huge mission on his shoulders. But what was the mission, what he was going to do, and the specific reason for the destruction of the 7-star mysterious sect? He also didn't know about the secrets hidden in the 3 great holy regions and the divine beginning realm. He only knew that he had to do his best to increase his strength and make himself stronger as much as possible. He longed for the day when he was qualified to know all of this. And now, this day had finally arrived. He was finally qualified to know all of this. Little guy, you've been in the universe battlefield for so long, and you have some understanding of the universe. How much do you know about the universe's star worlds? Taoist Xian asked. Star worlds? Jian Wushuang immediately replied, I only know that there are different levels of star worlds. For example, the divine beginning realm is a 3rd-grade star world, which is the most common one in the universe. A 3rd-grade star world will be counted as a chaos cycle from its birth to its self-collapse. Yes, what you know is common knowledge in the universe. However, there is one thing that you don't know, which is that there is an initial stage in the process of the birth of any astral world. We call this stage the initial stage, Taoist Xian slowly explained. The initial stage is equivalent to a baby born a month before we humans are born. The body has not fully grown. At this stage, any bit of wind or rain can cause the baby to die or be severely injured. The same is true for the initial stage of the astral world. At that stage, the astral world hasn't started to give birth to any living beings. At most, it's just an embryo. The embryo is still very fragile. At this time, if an expert with a certain level of strength discovered the embryo, he or she would destroy it with a wave of his or her hand. This would cause the astral world to vanish before it started to give birth. The initial stage. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He said directly, even if a powerful cultivator found the embryo of the astral world, he would not be so bored as to destroy it. After all, destroying an astral world is not beneficial to him. You're right. Taoist Xian nodded. Chapter 3603. Final Secret, Part 1. Under normal circumstances, no one would be so bored as to deliberately destroy an astral world embryo. This is because the astral world was born by the universe itself. Forcibly destroying an astral world embryo can be said to be a public confrontation with the laws of the universe, although they wouldn't be punished at the time. In the future, their cultivation would more or less be hindered by the laws of the universe, and the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. However, the experts who found the astral world embryo by chance will not destroy it, but they can take it by force. The Taoist Xian said, Take it by force? Jian Wushuang was shocked. How is that possible? This is a huge astral world. How can we take it by force? It's very simple, possession. The Taoist Xian said, You have to know that in the universe, an astral world is actually equivalent to a large life, and the consciousness of this life is the will of the heavenly Tao. The will of the heavenly Tao represents the consciousness of the astral world. Under normal circumstances, it has no feelings or thoughts, only knowing to follow the operation of the universal laws and maintain the circulation of the heavenly Tao. If the will of the heavenly Tao had already grown up, it would have formed a connection with the universal laws. Naturally, no one could shake it. However, in the initial stage, it's just an embryonic astral world. The will of heavenly Tao is too weak. If an expert comes to possess it, there is a certain possibility that the possession will succeed. Once the possession is successful, the will of heavenly Tao, which only knows how to operate according to the laws of the universe, will be directly erased. Instead, The cultivator's own consciousness will become the will of heavenly Tao in this astral world and control everything. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's heart was in turmoil. The heavenly will of an astral world had no thoughts and no feelings. But the heavenly will of the divine beginning realm was obviously not like that. In other words, the heavenly will of the divine beginning realm is the consciousness of a cultivator. Was the divine beginning realm possessed by someone when it was still in its embryonic stage? Jian Wushuang said in a deep voice, "Yes, that's right." Daoist Shen nodded slightly. "Little guy, you should be able to tell that if the will of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm doesn't have feelings or thoughts, then it's impossible for it to support the three saint realms. To put it bluntly, the three saint realms exist to allow it to better control the divine beginning realm. The three masters of the saint realm are the representatives of the will of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm. But look at the other star realms around this territory. There's no such thing." "Temporal temple," Master said. Jian Wushuang's heart sank. It was true that he had roamed the universe battlefield for a period of time, but he had some understanding of this territory. As far as he knew, the other astral worlds in this territory were completely dominated by the cultivators themselves. There was no heavenly will at all. The heavenly will of the astral world was just to maintain the astral world's self-operation. Forcibly destroying an astral world embryo not only doesn't bring any benefits, but it will also be restricted by the universal laws in the future. Is it allowed by the universal laws to forcefully possess an astral world and take it as his own? Jian Wushuang frowned and said, "No, forcibly possessing an astral world in the embryo will be punished by the universal laws in the future. Although it's not as strong as forcibly destroying an astral world embryo, possessing an astral world is not without benefits. On the contrary, it has incredible benefits," Daoist Shen said. "Oh." Jian Wushuang was surprised. "Little guy, you should know that the process of an astral world, even if it's only the lowest level 3 astral world, from the moment it's born to its slow growth, to its self-destruction, is all related to the laws of the universe. If a cultivator possesses an astral world, and it becomes the will of the heavenly Tao of this astral world, he can observe the evolution of the astral world from the closest distance, and he can also activate the unfathomable laws of the universe. This is a dream for any cultivator, not to mention the chaos ruler. Even legendary supreme existences yearn for it." Daoist Shen said, "A supreme being?" Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he deliberately looked puzzled. A supreme being is a supreme expert who is above a ruler. He is a top figure in the entire vast universe. You haven't become a real ruler, so you may not have heard of this level, the heaven ancestor said. "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang was relieved, but he secretly smiled. In fact, he knew about the supreme being. When he met the Golden War god, Wind Demon, in that special space, he knew about the existence of the supreme being. Wind Demon was a supreme being, not to mention the master of planet Lingyun. However, he did not want others to know about his encounter. Therefore, when Daoist Shen mentioned the supreme being, he deliberately showed a puzzled look. "Little guy, now you understand why someone would choose to possess an astral world rather than bear the conflict of the universal laws, right?" Daoist Shen smiled faintly. To put it bluntly, the benefits of possessing an astral world are so great that he is willing to bear the conflict of the universal laws. "I see." Jian Wushuang understood. Is the person who possessed the divine beginning realm that Devil Cloud Star Master? "Yes, it's him." Daoist Shen nodded slightly. At the mention of the Devil Cloud Star Master's name, the three rulers' expressions turned extremely cold. The Devil Cloud Star Master is the willpower of the divine beginning realm. We have paid a heavy price over the years and have long investigated the background of this Devil Cloud Star Master. Daoist Xian Shen continued to explain. Devil Cloud Star is an incomparably mature second-grade astral world that has long since matured. In the entire astral world, there are no less than dozens of ruler-level experts, and they are extremely powerful. However, because Devil Cloud Star is quite far away from our territory, even a ruler-level expert would need at least tens of thousands of years to reach our territory at the fastest speed. Thus, under normal circumstances, Devil Cloud Star is unable to touch our territory. There are always exceptions. Our divine beginning realm just happened to encounter this accident. At that time, there was a ruler in Devil Cloud Star who had offended many experts and was forced into a desperate situation. Because he couldn't stay in Devil Cloud Star any longer, he chose to wander around. This wandering came to our territory, and coincidentally, he discovered the embryonic state of the divine beginning realm. You have to know that the astral world within the embryo is very well hidden. In addition, the void of the universe is vast and boundless. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to encounter it at all. And this ruler who escaped from the Devil Cloud Star just had to be lucky. Chapter 3604, The Final Secret, Part 2. SH*T luck? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. It's just SH*T luck. It's really great luck. After all, the universe law knows that the embryonic stage is the most fragile during the process of nurturing the astral world, so it's also the most well-protected. Ordinary cultivators, even if they spend a long time wandering in the universe, wouldn't be able to encounter such an astral world embryo. According to the rumors, there are some incredibly powerful autarch-level rulers who would go to great lengths to find an astral world embryo like this in order to increase their power. Autarch-level experts are far more skilled than rulers, but even so, they are often unable to find an astral world embryo like this even after hundreds or thousands of chaos cycles. In the vast universe, if an astral world embryo is found anywhere, countless experts will immediately come to fight for it. This fight is no less than a feast for experts. You can imagine how lucky you are to find such an astral world embryo, said Daoist Xian Shen. Hearing Daoist Xian Shen's words, Jian Wushuang could not help but be shocked. If what Daoist Xian Shen said was true, even an expert at the supreme level could not find an embryo of an astral world even after searching for hundreds or thousands of chaos cycles in the universe void. Then the ruler who was forced to come out of the demonic cloud planet. It was indeed a stroke of good luck to find the divine beginning realm, which was in the embryonic stage in this territory. Not only is this ruler from Devil Cloud Star extremely lucky, but he is also very bold. After all, even in the embryonic stage of the astral world, it is extremely difficult for ordinary experts to possess it at its most vulnerable period. Under normal circumstances, only rulers have the possibility of possessing the astral world. Moreover, the success rate of possession is also very low. It is already considered good if 1 out of dozens of rulers succeeds in possession. However, once the possession fails, they will immediately suffer a backlash. Their souls will be destroyed, and they will die. Therefore, if a ruler forcefully tries to possess the embryonic stage of the astral world, he will still have a slim chance of survival. In fact, it might even be better than that. As for the ruler who left Devil Cloud Star, he wandered in the universe void because he had no other choice. Now that he finally encountered an embryonic astral world, he tried to possess it even though he knew there was a slim chance of survival. In the end, he really succeeded. Daoist Xian Shen said. He could not help clenching his hands. Jian Wushuang was also secretly amazed. He had a little more respect for the ruler who had run away from Devil Cloud Star. Under the premise that he was wise enough to risk his life, he took the risk to possess the ruler. In the end, he succeeded. Although the ruler was his enemy, his luck, boldness, and decisiveness were still worthy of respect. After he took over the divine beginning realm, his strength soared and reached a new level in a very short time. Then he left a trace of his consciousness in the divine beginning realm, and his original body returned to the Devil Cloud Star. After returning to the Devil Cloud Star, he immediately defeated many of his former enemies with absolute strength. He even swept across the entire Devil Cloud Star world and made the entire Devil Cloud Star submit to him. He also became the Devil Cloud Star Master. Taoist Xian Shen said. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang smacked his lips. Come and read on our website, Wuxiao World site. Thanks, this was because at the beginning, this person was just a ruler who could not survive in the Devil Cloud Star and was forced to leave. He was a wanderer in the universe void. Such a ruler's strength was definitely not that strong. However, because he possessed the divine beginning realm, his strength had suddenly grown to the point of sweeping across the entire Devil Cloud Star. It was clear how much help a cultivator would receive if he took over an astral world. What happened after that? Since the Star Master had already taken over the divine beginning realm and obtained what he wanted, why did he attack the 7-star mysterious sect? Jian Wushuang asked. He didn't want to attack the 7-star mysterious sect in the beginning. After all, although he took over the divine beginning realm, what he needed was the process of the divine beginning realm's evolution. During this process, he could communicate with the laws of the universe and improve his strength by observing the complete evolution of an astral world. As for the internal affairs of the divine beginning realm, it has nothing to do with him. Logically speaking, he should be able to maintain the operation of the divine beginning realm like the normal will of the heavenly Tao. As for the many cultivators in the divine beginning realm, it doesn't matter whether he is an outsider or not. As long as the will of the heavenly Tao works normally, the cultivators in the divine beginning realm can accept him even if he created the 3 saint realms to be his spokesperson. However, the Devil Cloud Star Master is too ambitious. Taoist Xian said in a low voice. Ambitious? Jian Wushuang was confused. He is ambitious. To be exact, he is too impatient. Of course, it is also possible that he is at the most critical stage of cultivation. For example, he is only 1 step away from becoming a supreme being. He paused. Taoist Xian continued. He longed to break through to become a supreme being as soon as possible. For this reason, he spared no effort. Therefore, he forcefully accelerated the evolution of the heavenly Tao in the divine beginning realm. Speed up the evolution of the heavenly Tao by force. How? Jian Wushuang was surprised. It's simple. He didn't hesitate to squeeze the potential of the divine beginning realm and did everything he could to make the divine beginning realm collapse. Naturally, he could experience the evolution of the astral world earlier so that he could gain more earlier. However, the damage to the divine beginning realm would be too great. Taoist Xian said. Jian Wushuang's expression turned solemn. Although he did not know what the consequences would be for the divine beginning realm, it was not a good thing for the divine beginning realm to accelerate the evolution of the divine beginning realm and squeeze its potential. To speed up the evolution of the divine beginning realm and squeeze it, it is to push the seedling to grow, and it is the most extreme way to push the seedling to grow. It is like a person who has a lifespan of 100 years, forcibly increasing his growth speed and squeezing his potential. In the end, although he has lived his whole life, he may only live for 50 years or even 30 years or 20 years. Jian Wushuang was shocked. A person who could live for 100 years could only live for 20 to 30 years after forcefully accelerating his growth rate. In other words, if Devil Cloud Star Master does this, his lifespan in the divine beginning realm will be extremely short, and he won't be able to live for one chaos cycle at all? Jian Wushuang asked in surprise. Chapter 3605, The Final Secret, Part 3. Not only that because the potential of the divine beginning realm has been greatly exploited, the number of geniuses and experts born in the divine beginning realm in the latter half of the process will be less and less. At most, it will be comparable to other level 3 star worlds, or even only 1/3 of the amount, said the Taoist Xian Shen. Is that so? Jian Wushuang suddenly understood. As I said before, if the Devil Cloud Star Master had allowed the divine beginning realm to operate according to the laws of the universe after he took over the divine beginning realm, the cultivators of the divine beginning realm would not have any objections. However, for his own selfish reasons, he did not hesitate to exploit the potential of the divine beginning realm, and his strong point was to accelerate the evolution of the divine beginning realm. The damage caused to the divine beginning realm was unimaginable. The cultivators of the divine beginning realm would naturally not be happy to see this. If you don't like it, the resistance will begin, Taoist Xian Shen said. Solemnly, the 7-star mysterious sect was already recognized as the number 1 force in the divine beginning realm. Naturally, the resistance began with the 7-star mysterious sect. However, the divine beginning realm was still in the initial stage of evolution. Its foundation was weak, and its overall strength was weak. It could not pose any threat to Devil Cloud Star Master until Xian Yi attacked. Master! Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Yes, it's your master Xian Yi. Taoist Xian Shen looked at Jian Wushuang and smiled. Your master Xian Yi is the first perfect level life form born in the divine beginning realm. To be honest, it's extremely difficult to give birth to a perfect level life form even in a first-class astral world. Perhaps it's because the Devil Cloud Star Master squeezed too much of his potential that the cultivation environment in the divine beginning realm for a period of time has even exceeded that of a first-class astral world. It was also at that time that the divine beginning realm gave birth to several experts at the ruler realm, and a super genius like Di Shursan appeared. Your master Xian Yi was also born in that era. Originally, Devil Cloud Star Master did not pay much attention to the many experts born in the divine beginning realm, even if there were a few more rulers. After all, these rulers could hardly threaten him. However, when Xian Yi appeared and gradually rose to power, Devil Cloud Star Master sensed some threats. Why? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Why can't so many rulers threaten the Star Master, but Master can? Is it because he is a cultivator at the perfect life level? Yes, because he is a cultivator at the perfect life level. Taoist Xian Shen smiled. Little guy, I just told you that a ruler realm expert wants to possess a star world. If he fails, his soul will be destroyed on the spot. In other words, to possess a star world, the most important thing is to rely on the soul. Only a strong and powerful soul power can successfully take over an astral world. Moreover, this is only in the embryonic stage. However, because of the possession of the Devil Cloud Star Master, the divine beginning realm has already passed the initial stage and is now in the complete stage. At this time, even if a supreme level expert forcibly takes over an astral world, he would not be able to shake the Devil Cloud Star Master at all. However, a perfect life level cultivator is an exception. Little guy, you're also a cultivator at the perfect life level. Can't you guess the reason? Taoist Xian Shen looked at Jian Wushuang. It's the soul of a cultivator at the perfect life level. It's different from the others. Jian Wushuang exclaimed. Hearing this exclamation, not only Taoist Xian Shen, but the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor also laughed. Although they were not perfect life-level cultivators, they knew some of the mysteries of the perfect life level. Come and read on our website, Wuxia world site. Thanks, Jian Wushuang himself was the owner of the perfect life level, so he was even clearer. He knew that a perfect life level cultivator had almost no weaknesses, and the most invincible one was the soul. The soul of a cultivator at the level of a perfect being was unbreakable. Even if his soul was destroyed on the spot and completely destroyed, he could easily recover to the peak by relying on his divine power in the next second, and this kind of recovery also consumed very little of his divine power. In other words, no matter who it was absolutely impossible to kill a cultivator at the level of a perfect being from the aspect of the soul. And to possess an astral world depended on the power of the soul. For an ordinary ruler or even a paragon to forcibly possess an astral world that had already grown up was simply courting death. However, a cultivator at the level of a perfect being was different. He could do so without any scruples. If he failed once, he would try 10 times. If he failed 10 times, he would try 100 times or 1,000 times. Even if the chances of him succeeding were slim, he would succeed one time after another. I understand now. I finally understand why my master can threaten the Star Master. I also understand that the 3 Saint Realms will kill me at all costs when they know of my existence. Once I grow up, I can indeed deal a fatal blow to the Star Master, which means that the heaven's will of the divine, beginning realm, will be dealt a fatal blow. Jian Wushuang said solemnly, "Yes, that's right." Taoist Xian Shen nodded as well. However, your current level of power is still a bit too weak. Although your battle power is close to that of a ruler, your level of power is only at the level of a saint. A saint isn't even qualified to possess the divine beginning realm. Even if you break through to become a principal's master in the future, your master, Xian Yi, was also a principal's master in the past. He tried to possess the divine beginning realm 1,000,000 times, but he failed. Therefore, he came to the conclusion that even a perfect life-level cultivator must reach the ruler realm before they are qualified to refine the divine beginning realm. Must I reach the ruler realm? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. For the current him, the principal's master realm might be close, but the ruler realm was too far away. Although his current battle power was close to that of a ruler, and once he broke through to become a principal's master, his battle power would definitely be comparable to that of a ruler. However, he was still very far away from truly becoming a ruler. You have to become a ruler. Otherwise, you won't even have to try, Taoist Xian Shen said in a low voice. Back then, your master was at the level of a principal's master, and he attempted to possess someone. He attempted to possess someone 1,000,000 times, but in the end, he still failed. However, this insane attempt to possess someone completely terrified the Devil Cloud Star sect. That Devil Cloud Star Master was worried that your master would break through to become a ruler, which was why he immediately acted. He sent a total of 12 ruler realm experts from Devil Cloud, and even his true body personally acted. With lightning speed, he annihilated the 7-star mysterious sect and killed your master. Chapter 3606. Indirect help. Jian Wushuang's heart trembled. Only now did he fully understand the reason for the true destruction of the 7-star mysterious sect. Indeed, the 7-star mysterious sect was destroyed because of Xian Yi. It was Xian Yi who made the Devil Cloud Star Master feel a great threat and wanted to kill him. The 7-star mysterious sect was also wiped out by the Devil Cloud Star Master because they tried their best to protect it. There was nothing we could do. At that time, the foundation of the divine beginning realm was too thin. In front of the Devil Cloud Star Master's peerless strength, there was no room for struggle at all. Thus, when the Devil Cloud Star Master gave the order, the 4 great divine races and the 8 directions celestial sect immediately responded. Although these sects and factions didn't know the secret of the Devil Cloud Star Master, the difference in strength was too great. They could only form a battle team like this. When that battle really broke out, our seven-star mysterious sect had already predicted the final outcome. That's why when we noticed the movements of the Devil Cloud Star Master, we immediately left behind many backup plans. Taoist Shen slowly explained. First, the three great freedom alliances did not participate in this battle. After all, everyone in the Divine Beginning realm knows that Xian Yi is a member of the Seven-Star Mysterious Sect. The Seven-Star Mysterious Sect will not be able to escape this disaster, and it is unavoidable. However, the three great freedom alliances can only not participate in this battle and not stand on the Seven-Star Mysterious Sect's side. Then, the Devil Cloud Star Master should not attack the three great freedom alliances. Secondly, Xian Yi immediately prepared a plan to rise up in the future. This plan was very crazy. At that time, everyone thought that it was almost impossible to succeed. However, because Devil Cloud Star acted too suddenly and completely sealed off the entire Divine Beginning realm, Xian Yi was no longer able to escape. Although the chances of success of this plan were very slim, it was still a glimmer of hope. Fortunately, he made the right bet. Countless cultivators in the Seven-Star Divine realm sacrificed their lives to set up the formation for him. Taoist Shen laughed. Formation? Palace Master, are you talking about the formation that has been sealing the Seven-Star Divine realm? Jian Wushuang asked in a deep voice. After the battle, the Seven-Star Divine realm was completely sealed by the formation. In his previous life, Jian Wushuang was born in the sealed Divine realm, where he met the consciousness left behind by his master, Xian Yi. After obtaining a great opportunity, his master finally acted and reincarnated into the Divine Beginning realm. Although he had been in the Divine Beginning realm for a long time, deep in his heart, the sealed heaven and earth, the Seven-Star Divine realm, or the eternal chaotic world, was his real home. Apart from the formation, what other formation is there? Taoist Shen smiled. That grand formation was something I acquired by chance from the cosmic battlefield. It was of an extremely high level, and it was executed by several of us rulers at the same time. In addition, countless cultivators in the Seven-Star Divine realm sacrificed their lives to create this blood essence power, which was why it was set up. Once this formation was set up, even planet Devil Cloud Star Master wouldn't be able to break it open. After all, although his power is monstrous, and the heavenly Daos of the Divine Beginning realm have always been within his control, the unseen laws of the universe have caused his true body to be restricted by his power in the Divine Beginning realm. He wouldn't be able to unleash his full power, and he wouldn't be able to break open this grand formation at all. This left us with hope of rising to power. You know what happened next? Even though your master, Xian Yi, died, the consciousness he left behind in the sealed Seven-Star Divine realm spent countless years and effort to perfect the technique again and again. Finally, you were born. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. He knew that his master had sacrificed too much for him to obtain the perfect chaotic creature. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, he had nurtured the green fire world with his own blood essence and tried step by step. Finally, he appeared. Although he succeeded in inheriting his master's perfect life, in the end, he had put in a lot of effort in the process. However, it was mainly because his master had prepared too much for him. After you were born, everything went according to plan. He borrowed the opportunity of the three great saint realm masters to barely open the sealed heaven and earth and sent you into reincarnation to the Divine Beginning realm. In fact, the reason why the three great saint realm masters were able to open the passage was because we helped them in the dark. As soon as you were born, I came to pick you up. As for the rest of your growth, It was all done by you, step by step, until today." At this point, Taoist Xian Shun stopped and looked at Jian Wushuang. Temporal Temple Master and Heaven Ancestor also stared at Jian Wushuang. There was a trace of joy in their eyes. Jian Wushuang did not know that from the moment he was born in the divine beginning realm, his every move and his growth had been seen by the three of them. They had been watching Jian Wushuang and his growth. However, other than the appearance of Taoist Xianxin, the temporal temple master and the heaven ancestor had been in the dark. Even if they had helped him along the way, they had never told him the specific reason. It was not until now that the three of them appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and told him everything that Jian Wushuang finally understood. "Now, I finally understand why the temple master treated me so well before," Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. Temporal temple master. When he was in the temporal temple, he personally taught him for 300 years and gave him a life-saving token. On Saha Island, temporal temple master came to his rescue personally. At that time, temporal temple master was so good to him that many people were puzzled. Jian Wushuang himself was the same. Temporal temple master was the same. So was the heaven ancestor, and so was the heaven cleaving alliance master, who had never shown his face. After all, the heaven cleaving alliance master was the first to give Jian Wushuang an opportunity. He had never entered the core level of the heaven cleaving union, but the heaven cleaving union made an exception and allowed him to enter the heaven cleaving secret realm. It was something that countless genius disciples of the heaven cleaving union yearned for. Not only that, but the three palace masters of the heaven cleaving union had also given him a lot of benefits, such as the token of the two palace masters and the token containing his doppelganger that the heaven cleaving alliance master had personally refined. Even the most outstanding and potential geniuses in the heaven cleaving union would not receive such treatment. However, Jian Wushuang, an outsider, did. There was also the heaven ancestor. Although the heaven ancestor Taoist sect had not given him much help when he was in the divine beginning realm, when he came to the universe battlefield and came to the star palace, the heaven ancestor had met him in person. Afterwards, he had personally taught him axe techniques, given him opportunities, and allowed him to directly grasp the will of destruction, allowing him to completely comprehend the principles of destruction. All of this was indirectly helping him. Chapter 3607. Requirements few. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and bowed solemnly. "Thank you." After knowing everything, Jian Wushuang knew that he had received a great favor from the people in front of him. Jian Wushuang had to hurry up and remember this favor. "Haha, little guy, you don't have to thank us. After all, we are helping ourselves and the entire divine beginning realm. Although the divine beginning realm has reached the middle stage due to the accelerated evolution of the Star Master, as long as you can take it back, the divine beginning realm can still be saved," Taoist Xianxin said seriously. "Moreover, it's different from the last battle. Our divine beginning realm's foundation was too weak, and the arrival of the Devil Cloud Star Master and his subordinates was too sudden. As a result, we didn't have much power to resist. However, it's different this time. From the end of that battle until now, a long, long time has passed. Even I can't remember how long it has been. And from the end of that battle, we've started to make plans for today. We've been preparing and waiting for the right time. Even now, the power we have in our hands is still not comparable to Devil Cloud Star, let alone fighting him head-on. But if Devil Cloud Star Master comes again, our divine beginning realm will not be powerless to resist. We are even confident that we can protect ourselves." Protect ourselves? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He did not expect that even after preparing for so many years, Taoist Xianxin and the others could only barely protect themselves. It's already good enough that we can barely protect ourselves. At least this time, we won't be completely defeated. As long as we can protect ourselves, we will be able to counterattack. For us, the biggest counterattack is nothing more than breaking through to the ruler realm and then taking over the divine, beginning realm again. Taoist Xian Shun's voice was solemn. Once you take over the divine beginning realm again, the divine beginning realm will be under your control. At that time, as long as the experts from the outside world enter the divine beginning realm, you can try your best to suppress their strength to an extremely low level. On the other hand, you can choose not to suppress the local experts like us. Under this situation, the people from Devil Cloud Star will not dare to step into our divine beginning realm again. Yes, as long as you can take back the divine beginning realm, we will win this battle. Temporal Temple Master nodded heavily. That's true. However, if I want to take back the divine beginning realm, I have to be at least at the level of a ruler. But now, I'm far from the ruler realm. Jian Wushuang frowned. A ruler had to completely comprehend the four principles, and he had to completely fuse the four principles. However, he had only comprehended three principles, and if he fused them together, he would only be able to fuse two. He was still far from breaking through to become a ruler. Furthermore, he was a cultivator at the level of a perfect being, and the level of a perfect being was limited by the principles of the universe. The conditions for breaking through might be much more difficult than ordinary cultivators. For example, from the immortal saint to the principles master. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, an ordinary immortal saint could make a breakthrough as long as he completely comprehended one principle and grasped a part of the power of his will. However, he had already comprehended three principles and merged two principles, but there was still no sign of a breakthrough. Therefore, Jian Wushuang was worried that after he became a principles master, it would be much more difficult for him to break through to the ruler realm than for ordinary cultivators. You're still far from the ruler realm, so you should try your best to improve your strength. What we need to do is to do our best to help you improve your strength. Taoist Xian Shun said in a low voice, "Little guy, you've made it clear. You know how important you are to us, so you don't need to be polite or pretentious. If you need anything that can help you improve your strength, just tell us. We'll do our best to help you." Yes, not only in terms of cultivation, but also all kinds of treasures and supreme treasures. If you need anything, you can tell us directly. Temporal Temple Master also nodded. As for the Heaven Ancestor, he was also very determined. The three of them knew that Jian Wushuang was the only one who could save the divine beginning realm from danger. What Jian Wushuang needed to do was to improve his strength as much as possible and reach the ruler realm as soon as possible. What they needed to do, of course, was to help Jian Wushuang become a ruler. As long as Jian Wushuang could become a ruler as soon as possible, they would do anything. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang stopped being unreasonable and said directly, "Seniors, I do need something now." "Speak." Taoist Xian Shun looked over. "First of all, there are some rare treasures. Here is the list. Take a look first." Jian Wushuang took out a list of treasures. The treasures on the list were necessary for him to cultivate the first level of the supreme eternal celestial body. Although there were only 6 of them, they were extremely rare. Before he obtained the supreme eternal celestial body, Jian Wushuang had never even heard of these 6 treasures. Therefore, although he took out the list of 6 treasures, he did not know if Taoist Xian Shun and the others could collect all of them. Sure enough, after seeing the 6 treasures on the list, Taoist Xian Shun, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor's expressions changed immediately. "Little guy, each of the treasures on the list is indeed extremely rare. There are none in my star palace. even including the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Temporal Temple, and Heaven Ancestor Taoist sect. There are only 2 of them. Taoist Shen sighed softly. Is there no way to collect all of them? Jian Wushuang frowned. That's not the case. Taoist Shen changed the topic. We already have 2 of the 6 treasures. We know where to get 3 of the remaining 4 treasures, and we are confident that we can get them. The last one, the Netherfire Blood Crystal, is a bit troublesome. I've heard that someone has obtained the Netherfire Blood Crystal, but it has been tens of millions of years. I don't know whether the news is true or not. Even if it is true, I can't confirm who has it. However, I can contact the experts who might get the Netherfire Blood Crystal. They'll get it no matter what the price is, the Heaven Ancestor said in a deep voice. How long will it take? Jian Wushuang asked. Chapter 3608, The Supreme Treasure? Within 100 years, the Heaven Ancestor said. The key is to find out who has the Netherfire Blood Crystal. As long as we can confirm it, it'll be easy. We can think of other ways to exchange for it. If the other party doesn't agree, then we'll use force. No matter what, there will be a result within 100 years. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He was willing to wait for 100 years. In addition to the treasures on this list, I also need an offensive magic weapon, one above the Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure. Jian Wushuang said. A magic weapon? Taoist Shen and the other 2 looked at each other in dismay. They were not surprised by this request. They all knew that the magic weapon Jian Wushuang used before was only at the Advanced Universe Supreme Treasure level. Even if he killed 9-Sword Demon Master and obtained the Supreme Treasure in his hands, it would only be a top-tier Universe Supreme Treasure magic weapon. Top-tier Universe true treasures. For Principal's Masters, they were indeed rare treasures. However, Jian Wushuang's strength had already exceeded the scope of Principal's Masters, and he had already begun to make contact with rulers. A top-tier Universe true treasure alone was definitely not enough. It's easy to use a magic weapon. There's a top-tier Universe true treasure magic sword in my Star Palace True Treasure Vault that I can give you directly. However, it's only a top-tier Universe true treasure. Is it enough? Taoist Shen said with great interest. Jian Wushuang was stunned. Was he going to use a Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure? Was Taoist Shen going to give him a Pinnacle Universe Supreme Treasure? As if seeing through Jian Wushuang's thoughts, Taoist Shen smiled. In fact, I have been paying attention to the most powerful Supreme Treasure magic weapon that is suitable for you. After all, you will grow up sooner or later, and when you grow up, you will definitely need to use a suitable and powerful Supreme Treasure. However, it's a Supreme Treasure after all, and it's too precious. Most rulers in this territory don't have a Supreme Treasure with them. As for the sword-type Supreme Treasure that is suitable for you, I know that a person has one, and he doesn't need it, so we can exchange it with him. Oh. Jian Wushuang's eyes suddenly lit up. Don't be happy too early. I just said that there is a chance, and it is very small, because the ruler who has the sword-type Supreme Treasure is not only extremely powerful, but also much stronger than the 3 of us. He is also the leader of a major force and has a very high status. Although he has the most powerful sword-type Supreme Treasure, he has never taken it out to exchange for other treasures. He has left it for his juniors. If we want to exchange for it with him, we will definitely have to take out something that will move his heart. However, the main point is that in this territory, there aren't many treasures that can move him. Taoist Shen sighed softly. The Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven Ancestor obviously knew who the ruler was. They both looked a little helpless. They were very clear about his strength and status. It could be said that the ruler was one of the most powerful people in this territory. It was not easy to impress such a super existence with treasures in exchange for the strongest sword-type magic weapon in his hand. It was indeed not easy. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks. There's no need to rush this supreme treasure magic weapon. It's enough for me to have a supreme supreme treasure magic weapon now. As for the supreme treasure magic weapon, I'll think of a way later, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Well, that's it for now. You can go to the supreme treasure vault and use the supreme treasure first. Daoist Xian Shen nodded. The attack magic weapon can be taken care of temporarily. As for the supreme treasure armor, I see that the armor you're wearing now is of a high level. Daoist Xian Shen looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. I have indeed gained a lot during my years in Devil's Smoke Valley. This supreme treasure armor is one of them. Without this armor, my battle strength would never have exceeded that of an expert at the pinnacle of the sixth realm. What he said was the truth. The reason why he was so powerful and was able to sweep through the pinnacle of the 6 levels was largely because of the tremendous power that the Blood Demon Cave armor had given him, which made him much more powerful than the average pinnacle of the 6 levels. Without the Blood Demon Cave armor, he would be very powerful, but at most, he would only be comparable to the average pinnacle of the 6 levels. It would be impossible for him to sweep through the pinnacle of the 6 levels. It's already good enough to have a top-tier supreme treasure armor. Even the few of us only have this level of supreme treasure armor. As for the supreme treasure armor, we don't have it, so we can't get it for you. Daoist Xian Shen spread out his hands and said. Jian Wushuang smiled. It was understandable. The supreme treasure armor in terms of attack alone was extremely precious, and the supreme treasure armor was something that many rulers would go crazy over. There were probably only a few such supreme treasure armors in this territory. All of them were in the hands of the most terrifying experts. It was too difficult for Star Palace to get one. However, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry. After all, although he did not have such a supreme treasure now, he must not forget that the 3 battlefields were a huge treasure trove in front of them. There were countless supreme treasures and many opportunities. Who knew if he would be lucky enough to get 1 or 2 of them in the future? The problem of the supreme treasures has been temporarily solved. What else do you need? Daoist Xian Shen looked over. I still need some things that can help me integrate the destruction principles, especially the destruction principles, space-time, and reincarnation principles. The more treasures I can use for reference, the better, Jian Wushuang said solemnly. Oh, are you finally going to integrate the 3 rules? Temporal Temple Master said slowly. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Before, I had only grasped the destruction rules, so I couldn't integrate them with the other 2 rules. But after being trapped in the special space-time in Devil's Smoke Valley for nearly 100,000 years, I've made some progress in the principles. If I integrate them now, I won't be able to do so. But as long as I have some time and some treasures that I can use for reference, I should be able to integrate the 3 principles. Once all 3 principles are fused, they'll be able to break through and become a principles master. Jian Wushuang could not help holding his hands. Principles master. Under normal circumstances, he should have broken through a long time ago, but because he was a perfect being, he had been stuck there. He had been working hard before, but he was still far from fusing the 3 principles. Now, he was close to fusing the 3 principles. Chapter 36:09. I won't let you down. These things are quite easy to deal with. Daoist Xian God smiled. How about this? I'll give the order. From today onwards, you will be the young palace master of our Star Palace. Your position in the Star Palace will be second only to mine. In addition, You can use any of the resources in the Star Palace as long as they are of use to you. You don't have to pay a price for them. For example, you can use all the supreme treasures in the Supreme Treasure Vault as long as you think you can use them. You don't have to use contribution points to exchange for them. You can also go to the Supreme Treasure Vault to look for the things you just mentioned that can only be used for reference. You should be able to find them. Thank you, Palace Master. Jian Wushuang was pleasantly surprised. As the young Palace Master, he could use all the resources in Star Palace at will. Such treatment, however, Jian Wushuang also understood that he had gained a lot, but he would have to pay more in the future. He was the only one who could save the divine beginning realm. His growth was crucial to the divine beginning realm. That was why Daoist Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and the Heaven Ancestor had helped him so gratuitously. Now that he had received their benefits, he had to complete his mission. His responsibility was very great. Do you need anything else? Daoist Xian God continued to ask. Not for the time being, Jian Wushuang said. The things he had just mentioned were helpful to his cultivation or strength. At the moment, he only needed these things to improve his strength. As for other things, he would talk about them later. Well, then you should cultivate well and break through to become a principal's master as soon as possible. When you become a principal's master, you can open the holy region that has been sealed all this time. Daoist Xian God said with a smile. Open the seal? Jian Wushuang was stunned, but then he said excitedly, Palace Master, who are you? As long as I break through to become a principal's master, I can open the seal, enter the 7-star divine realm, and return to my hometown. His hometown, the eternal chaotic world, the green fire world. He had too many relatives there. His parents, his brothers, and his good friends were all there. In this life, although he also had parents and brothers, in terms of feelings, they were slightly worse. In the past, countless cultivators in the 7-star divine realm sacrificed their lives to seal the 7-star divine realm. The seal was very strong, and even several rulers working together could not break it. However, the seal was just to leave a way out for the 7-star mysterious sect and the divine beginning realm, and a glimmer of hope. The seal was led by Xian Yi, who left some special means on the seal. This means was specially reserved for you. When you're weak, you can't break the seals. But when you reach the level of a principal's master, your strength shouldn't be weaker than Xian Yi at his peak. The divine beginning realm has the ability to fight with Devil Cloud Star again. At this time, you can break the seals and wake up the experts left by the 7-star mysterious sect and return to the divine beginning realm. Daoist Xian God said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang could not help but shake his hands. Not only that, in order to ensure that the seal is safe, one of the 3 Freedom Alliances, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, is also the strongest among us. He has been guarding around the seal all year round and has been paying attention to everything inside. When you break the seal, you will be able to see him for real. Daoist Xian God said. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master? Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Come and read on our website, Wuxiao World site. Thanks he had used a token to guide a consciousness clone of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master on the Saha Island. At that time, a Saint Realm Master had mentioned that the original body of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master had been guarding a certain place. He had not left for hundreds of millions of years. Now, it seemed that the place that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master was guarding was the place where the heavy seal was. For such a long time, he had not left for even half a step. Countless cultivators in the 7-star divine realm would have to remember the favor of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master. After taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang slowly bowed to the 3 people in front of him. Seniors, I will do my best to live up to your expectations. No, there are also my master, the heaven-cleaving alliance master, the countless cultivators who risked their lives to set up the Great Formation, and the millions of lives in the divine beginning realm. Go. Daoist Xian God smiled and waved his hand. Jian Wushuang turned and left. In the palace, Daoist Xian God, temporal temple master, and the heaven ancestor were still standing together. They looked at each other with a smile on their faces. We have prepared for so many years for this little guy. I hope this little guy will not forget our disappointment. After all, the divine beginning realm cannot accept another failure. Daoist Xian God sighed. Yes, the last defeat had left the divine beginning realm riddled with holes, but there were still some things left. There was also time for them to make sufficient preparations before coming back. However, if they were to experience another defeat like that, not to mention that the divine beginning realm had reached the middle stage of its lifespan, they would not have enough time to prepare. For so many years, there was probably no one who could change everything. Jian Wushuang was able to appear because of Xian Yi's endless years of hard work and effort, as well as that era, which happened to be a stage where all the potential of the divine beginning realm was completely exploited. In addition to that, he was extremely lucky. That was how he succeeded. Indeed, Xian Yi had created Jian Wushuang. However, Xian Yi was only a step that Jian Wushuang could take to be born. The heaven, earth, and people were in harmony with each other. The potential of the divine beginning realm was being squeezed endlessly. Although it was pushing the seedlings to grow, it was also pushing the seedlings to a high explosive stage. At that time, the cultivation environment of the divine beginning realm was no less than that of the first-class astral world. Naturally, it was easier for geniuses to be born at that stage. That was the heaven and time. The geographical advantage was naturally the 7-star divine realm. Countless cultivators risked their lives to gather all their luck in one place, and that place was Jian Wushuang's hometown, the green fire world. The combination of the 3 factors created Jian Wushuang. But if one of them was missing, Jian Wushuang would not be able to withstand the weather. But now in the divine beginning realm, there was no such geographical advantage. At most, there were only people. Believe in this little fellow, just like how you believed in Xian Yi back then, temporal temple master smiled. Speaking of Xian Yi, actually, I still can't believe it. At such a critical moment, he made a crazy and unbelievable plan at the last minute. In the end, he actually succeeded. He actually created a new perfect life form, giving us a chance to make a comeback and fight again. Heaven Ancestor could not help but exclaim. Chapter 36:10. Fawning not to mention you, I also find it hard to believe. Daoist Xian God smiled. Then he said seriously, since God has given us a chance to fight again, we must not make any mistakes this time. After all, our divine beginning realm can't afford to fail again. You're right. From now on, this little guy's life is more important than any of us, Temporal Temple Master added. Well, go do what you have to do. Heaven Ancestor, go and find out about the Netherfire Blood Crystal. If you need any help, feel free to call us. Daoist Xian God said. The 3 of them immediately disappeared. Jian Wushuang was flying slowly in the Star Palace alone. He was still a little excited. In this life, he had worked hard for a long time. Finally, he was only one step away from becoming a Principal's Master. Once he broke through to become a Principal's Master, he could return to the Green Fire world, his hometown, and meet his family and friends. Star Palace occupied an Earth star and had many experts under its command. Although most experts roamed the 3 battlefields all year round, some stayed in Star Palace. When Jian Wushuang was flying in Star Palace, many people had already noticed his existence. Look, isn't that Bloodsword Master? Yes, it's Bloodsword Master. Bloodsword Master entered the unknown region of Devil's Smoke Valley alone, and went missing for nearly 100,000 years. Not long ago, he walked out of the life and death realm, and his strength skyrocketed. He defeated 5 experts at the pinnacle of the 6th realm by himself. Now, he is publicly recognized as the #1 Principles Master. How could he be from Star Palace? You just found out that Blood Sword Master came from Star Palace. This news has long spread in this territory. Just now, the Palace Master personally ordered that from today on, Blood Sword Master is the young Palace Master of Star Palace. His position in Star Palace is second only to Palace Master. Young Palace Master? Everyone was secretly amazed. Jian Wushuang was now very famous in this territory. Many cultivators in Star Palace were undoubtedly proud that such a supreme principles master came from Star Palace. While Jian Wushuang was flying, many principles masters of Star Palace took the initiative to fly up. Blood Sword Master. Greetings, young Palace Master. Greetings, sir. One after another, compliments rang in Jian Wushuang's ears. However, Jian Wushuang just nodded indifferently with an extremely cold expression. He knew that these people were so respectful to him because they knew his strength and status. Now, they just wanted to make friends with him. However, when he was not so strong and his strength was not so great, but no one took the initiative to make friends with him. This was the reality. When you were unknown, no one would pay attention to you. But when you were famous, there were a lot of people who took the initiative to come over. Jian Wushuang obviously saw these real people very clearly. If before, when he was not so famous, someone took the initiative to make friends with him, he would be happy to make friends with them. But now, he could not be bothered with these people. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, Blood Sword Master. Another voice sounded. However, when he saw the person who appeared in front of him, Jian Wushuang's cold expression finally eased, and a trace of a smile gradually appeared on his face. Heavy Master, didn't you go to the battlefield with Purple Sound Master? Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. Heavy Master was one of the few cultivators in Star Palace who had interacted with each other, and they had a good relationship. My brother and I just came back from the Devil's Smoke Valley. When we came back, we heard that you had a shocking battle in Devil's Smoke Valley. To be honest, I was shocked when I heard the news. Now, everyone in this territory says that you're the strongest principles master, Heavy Master said with a smile. He could not help thinking back to the first time he met Jian Wushuang. He did not put Jian Wushuang in his eyes at all. But as soon as they arrived at Devil's Smoke Valley, he and Master Ziming encountered a trap set by Master Fei. It was a life-and-death situation. It was Jian Wushuang who arrived in time and saved his life. From that moment on, he changed his opinion of Jian Wushuang. He sincerely befriended Jian Wushuang, and they even worked together to snatch the Piluo God parts. When Jian Wushuang had revealed himself in the fight for the Piluo God parts, he had been extremely surprised. However, he had not expected that in less than 100,000 years, Blood Sword Master had suddenly become the #1 Principles Master in this territory. Now, that Heavy Master was standing in front of Jian Wushuang and looking at him. He felt like he was dreaming. Jian Wushuang's progress was too terrifying. Heavy Master, I have something to do now, so I won't talk much. When I'm free, I'll come and have a drink with you and Master Ziming. Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Okay, sure. The Heavy Master nodded quickly. Jian Wushuang left, but the Heavy Master was overjoyed. He stood there, but he could feel many jealous eyes around him. This Heavy Master is really lucky. That's right. So many of us took the initiative to curry favor with Blood Sword Master, and Blood Sword Master didn't even bother to look at him. But this Heavy Master, Blood Sword Master, actually chatted and laughed with him, and even said that he wanted to have a drink with him. Clearly, they have a relationship. AI, back when Blood Sword Master was weak, it was easy for us to curry favor with him. But now, he is already publicly recognized as the #1 principles master in this territory. If we continue to go up to him like this, it will become a form of fawning and flattery. Unlike this heavy master who had a relationship with Blood Sword Master back then, even now Blood Sword Master is willing to chat and drink with him. In other words, if Heavy Master encounters any trouble in the future and asks Blood Sword Master for help, Blood Sword Master will at least listen to him, even if he won't agree immediately. Heavy Master is really lucky. Many cultivators in Star Palace were secretly discussing, and they were very envious of Heavy Master. They all knew how high Jian Wushuang's status was in the Star Palace. As for Heavy Master, it would be much more convenient for him to do things in the Star Palace in the future, since he was able to talk to Jian Wushuang. Heavy Master himself knew this, so when he noticed the envious gazes around him, he raised his head and laughed complacently. Then, he left under the burning gazes. Jian Wushuang did not know about these things, so he did not bother to pay attention to them. Now, he had arrived in front of the top officials of Star Palace. Chapter 3611. The results of the investigation. Acts 1 Master, Marquis Duanyu, Star Saint Master, and 7 Emotions Master, the 4 highest-ranking officials of Star Palace, stood respectfully in front of Jian Wushuang. My young friend, let me introduce you. This is 7 Emotions Master, a member of the highest-ranking officials of Star Palace. Usually, the 4 of us handle all the matters of Star Palace together. Acts 1 Master said, 7 Emotions, greetings, young Palace Master. 7 Emotions Master said respectfully. In fact, 7 Emotions Master had doubted Jian Wushuang at the beginning. However, as Jian Wushuang's progress became faster and faster, it had only been 100,000 years becoming the #1 principles master in this territory. 7 Emotions Master had completely submitted to Jian Wushuang. Young Palace Master, Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. This title sounds a little awkward. From now on, you should call me Heavenly Sword Marquis Friend as before. Upon hearing this, Acts 1 Master and the other 2 looked at each other and smiled. The status of Star Palace Young Palace Master was definitely much higher than the 4 of them. Coupled with Jian Wushuang's absolute strength, they had no choice but to treat Jian Wushuang with great respect and even caution. It was almost the same as when they faced the Palace Master of Star Palace. But now, Jian Wushuang's simple words made them feel a lot more relaxed. Obviously, although Jian Wushuang had reached the stage where they could only look up to him, his attitude toward them was very gentle and did not put on any airs, which made them feel much more comfortable. For, although Palace Master has given me the identity of the young Palace Master, the 4 of you will manage the Star Palace from now on. I won't interfere. However, the many resources in the Star Palace, Jian Wushuang had not finished his words. Don't worry, my friend. Palace Master has ordered that you can use any resources in the Star Palace at your will. However, in order to maintain the normal order of the Star Palace, you just need to let me know what resources you use. Acts 1 Master said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then he looked at Acts 1 Master and said, Acts 1 Master, I asked you to find out some information for me. Is there any result now? Before he set off for the depths of Devil Smoke Valley, he had specifically asked Acts 1 Master to find out information about Ice Heart, Glazed Jade, and Master Star Luo. It had been almost 100,000 years, so there should have been a result. As expected, Acts 1 Master said with a serious expression, Heavenly Sword Marquis, my young friend, I have tried my best to do the 2 things you asked me to inquire about. The first is the Ice Heart Glazed Jades. I told you before that a total of 3 pieces of ice heart glazed jades were born in this territory. One of the first 2 pieces was destroyed on the spot, and the other piece was taken by a ruler to save his wife. The last piece was obtained by the Earth Saint Star Master. Earth Saint Star Master is a reclusive and bloodthirsty ruler realm expert. Over the years, I've tried to contact him on behalf of Star Palace to exchange for the Ice Heart glazed jade. However, Earth Saint Star Master sent me a message. What message? Jian Wushuang asked. Earth Saint Star Master's original words were, I don't have the Ice Heart glazed jade. Get lost and don't bother me. After receiving this message, I haven't had any further contact with Earth Saint Star Master. Axe 1 Master said. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. In the past 100,000 years, Axe 1 Master had only had one contact with the Earth Saint Star Master, but this one contact was enough to show Star Saint Master's attitude. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, Axe 1 Master. Have you ever asked him if he really doesn't have the Icy Heart glazed jade? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course I want to ask, but the Earth Saint Star Master didn't give me a second chance. Besides, he has already spoken, so I don't dare to pester him anymore. After all, everyone in this territory knows that the Earth Saint Star Master is a crazy person who likes to kill and is terrifyingly strong. Even my Star Palace would not dare to provoke such a person, Axe 1 Master said helplessly. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He also understood the helplessness of Axe 1 Master. Earth Saint Star Master was indeed not to be trifled with. Not only was Earth Saint Star Master powerful, but he also had many tricks up his sleeve. Even if he asked Taoist, Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and the Heaven Ancestor to deal with Earth Saint Star Master personally, they might not be able to take him down completely. Moreover, Taoist Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and the Heaven Ancestor had been busy trying to find a way for him to get the Nether Fire Blood Crystal and the Supreme Universe Supreme Treasure Divine Sword. How could he make any requests to the 3 rulers at this time? Forget it. He'll put Earth Saint Star Master aside for now. After the 3 rulers have gathered what I need, and I've truly broken through to become a Principal's Master, I'll go to Earth Saint Star myself. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. What about Star Luo Master? Have you heard anything about her over the years? Jian Wushuang asked again. I've investigated her thoroughly, but I've never heard of her. I'm sure that she either doesn't wander around the territory, has no contact with anyone, or has never revealed her strength or identity, Axe 1 Master said. No news at all. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. It's not that there's no news at all. Axe 1 Master changed the topic. I've asked around, but I did get a piece of news. It might be related to Star Luo Master. Oh, Jian Wushuang immediately looked over. That was more than 80,000 years ago, during the period when they were trapped in the deepest part of Devil's Smoke Valley and lost their tracks. Someone once met a mysterious female ruler in the deepest part of Red Rock Mountain, one of the 3 battlefields. Not only was the ruler beautiful, but she was also accompanied by a beautiful woman who had reached the level of Principal's Master. If I'm not mistaken, that woman should be the disciple of the female ruler. Axe 1 Master said, a beautiful ruler with a beautiful female disciple. Jian Wushuang was stunned. She had seen Star Luo Master, and she was indeed extremely beautiful. As for Lung Rushua, her body was Lung Rushuang, and her beauty was almost incomparable. After so many years, under the guidance of Star Luo Master, Lung Rushua had reached the level of Principal's Master. It was normal. In this case, the ruler in the depths of Crimson Rock Mountain had a beautiful female disciple with him. It was very likely that they were Star Luo Master and Lung Rushua. What happened after that? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. Chapter 36:12. Netherfire Blood Crystal. There was no later. Acts 1 Master shook her head. The female ruler and her disciple only appeared once and did not attack. After that, no one has seen them or anyone has seen them, but our star palace did not find them. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes slightly. In his opinion, the female ruler and her disciple who appeared in the depths of Crimson Rock Mountain were likely to be Star Luo Master and Lung Rushua, but unfortunately, Star Palace's intelligence could only find them this time, and it was more than 80,000 years ago. Acts 1 Master, please continue to investigate this matter, Jian Wushuang said. Yes. Acts 1 Master nodded. There's nothing else. Everyone, go on with your work. After saying this, Jian Wushuang turned around and left. After that, Jian Wushuang made a trip to the Supreme Treasure House and left a moment later. Before leaving, he took the Supreme Universe Supreme Treasure Divine, sword mentioned by Taoist Xian God, as well as many treasures that were helpful in integrating the destruction principles, the space-time principles, and the reincarnation principles. In addition, Jian Wushuang also took a flying and domain supreme treasure. As the young palace master of Star Palace, he could freely use the many resources of Star Palace, including the many supreme treasures and treasures in the Supreme Treasure Vault. As long as he felt that they were useful, he could take them without paying any price. However, although Jian Wushuang took these things, he still left some of the treasures that he had collected over the years in the Supreme Treasure Vault. For example, the top-tier universe Supreme Treasure Divine weapon left by the Star Thunder ruler, the Shadow Devil Thunder Stick. There was also the axe, which was a top-tier universe supreme treasure, and the spear, which was a top-tier universe supreme treasure, which he had obtained when he first entered the special space-time. These treasures were all extremely valuable. After leaving the Supreme Treasure Vault, Jian Wushuang returned to his residence and began to cultivate in seclusion. He had met with 3 master-level experts, namely Taoist Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor. After knowing the reason, he felt even more stressed and could not afford to slack off. After all, he did not know when Devil Cloud's Star Master would personally come. Once he arrived, the final battle would begin immediately. Before that, all he had to do was try his best to increase his strength. Right now, the fastest way to increase his strength was to fuse the 3 principles and break through to become a principles master. Once he broke through, his strength would definitely reach a whole new level, and he could even completely rival a ruler. 9 years passed in the blink of an eye. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks in this territory, on an Earth star that was quite far away from the Star Palace. Rumble. 3 terrifying auras descended at the same time, pressing down on this Earth star. There were quite a few principles masters on this Earth star, and when they felt these 3 auras, they instantly began to tremble, and their hearts trembled. In the void at the center of this Earth star, a cold middle-aged man, who was over 3 meters tall, stood there, looking around at the source of the 3 auras. He frowned deeply. He was the master of this planet. He was also the most famous person in this territory, Ruler Guyo, Star Palace Master, Temporal Temple Master, and the Empyrean Patriarch. The 3 of you came from the incomparably distant primordial star world. If you were to travel here by foot, it would probably take thousands of years. Even if you were able to rely on a cosmic tunnel, the price you would have to pay for such a long-distance teleportation is incredibly high. Even though you know this, the 3 of you still came, Ruler Guyo said in a low voice. Guyo, let's cut to the chase. You should know why the 3 of us are here. Hand over the Netherfire blood crystal, and the 3 of us will leave immediately. Otherwise, Taoist Xian God's eyes turned cold. In another void, the temporal temple master's face flickered. Instantly, boundless space-time energy swept out, completely sealing off the surrounding space-time. Ruler Gaia's face sank as he glanced at the temporal temple master. It's rumored that this temporal temple master's understanding and usage of the space-time laws have already reached the peak. Now that I look at it, it seems that this is indeed the case. With him around, I don't even have the chance to escape. If these three rulers join forces and attack me at the same time, I'm definitely no match for them. Taking a deep breath, Ruler Guyo raised his head again. Is it worth the trouble of the three of you for a netherfire blood crystal? Of course it is, Heaven Ancestor growled. Guyo, hand over the netherfire blood crystal, honestly. The conditions I promised you will not change. However, if you continue to be stubborn, be careful that this ruler of yours will really die here. It's just a single netherfire blood crystal. Although it is of some use to me, it isn't enough for me to risk my life for it. The reason I rejected you earlier was because I wanted you to pay an even greater price. Now that you have gone through so much trouble, you can just take the netherfire blood crystal. Ruler Guyo waved his hand. Instantly, a streak of blood-colored light shot toward the Empyrean Lord. The Heaven Ancestor stretched out his hand to receive it. After giving it a sweeping glance, he nodded toward Taoist Xian God and the Temporal Temple Master. Now that they had acquired the netherfire blood crystal, the three of them naturally had no plans to attack. Ruler Guyo, we've offended you in many ways today, but the netherfire blood crystal is of great importance to us. We can only come up with this plan. I'm sorry. This is what I promised you previously. The Heaven Ancestor waved his hand, tossing an interspatial ring to Ruler Guyo. Then the three of them left. Seeing the three of them leave, the cultivators on this Earth star let out a heavy sigh. As for Guyo Ruler, after he received the Heaven Ancestor's interspatial ring, he glanced at it and his expression became strange. Although the netherfire blood crystal is rare, it shouldn't be too important to a ruler. However, these three people actually paid such a high price to rush here from the divine, beginning realm just for a netherfire blood crystal. They actually came to kill me? What is the use of the netherfire blood crystal to them? The Guyo ruler frowned, but he did not think too much about it. As for what happened today, it was a bit aggrieved for him. However, facing three rulers at the same time, and one of them was a ruler who had reached the peak of space-time, he had no choice but to bow his head. After that, the other party had apologized to him personally and left him some face. Therefore, he did not hold a grudge. At most, he felt a little unhappy. After the Taoist Xian God trio obtained the netherfire blood crystal from the Guyo ruler, they immediately returned to Star Palace as fast as they could. They handed over the netherfire blood crystal and the other treasures on the list that Jian Wushuang had given them. All of them were given to Jian Wushuang. Chapter 36:13. No feeling after collecting all the treasures, Jian Wushuang started to cultivate the supreme eternal celestial body. Without any delay, this cultivation lasted for 80 years. After 80 years, Jian Wushuang finally succeeded in cultivating the first level of the supreme eternal celestial body. Is this a divine body comparable to a supreme treasure? Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt his divine body. His eyes lit up. This feeling is so powerful. It was not as if he had never encountered a body-refining secret skill before. When he was weak, he had cultivated the primordial void celestial body, a body-refining secret skill of the ancient clan, which was one of the 4 great divine clans. However, although the primordial void celestial body was one of the top 10 body-refining secret skills in the divine beginning realm, it was not very helpful to Principal's masters. When he cultivated this secret skill to the top, it would only be of little help to the Principal's master. Therefore, Jian Wushuang had stopped cultivating this secret skill a long time ago. However, the supreme imperishable celestial body was different. The supreme imperishable celestial body was a secret skill that came from the inner heart of the planet Lingyun. Planet Lingyun used to be a ruler in the deepest part of the universe, and there were many supreme experts. The supreme imperishable celestial body, when cultivated to an extremely high level, was of great help to rulers and even supreme experts. It was also of great help to the principal's master. It was even more helpful. Jian Wushuang was only at the level of the immortal saint now. It was also because of the magic of the perfect life that he could barely cultivate the first level of the supreme level immortal Xian body. Once he cultivated it, his divine body could be comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure, a divine body at the level of an elementary universe supreme treasure. How strong was such a divine body? Jian Wushuang did not know. He could only feel that his current divine body was very strong, hundreds or thousands of times stronger than before. How much help would this divine body be to his strength? Let's try it. With a smile on his face, Jian Wushuang slowly stood up and left his residence. Soon, Jian Wushuang found the woodcutter who was chopping trees in the special tower, which was the Heaven Ancestor. The four masters of the Star Palace camp, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, stayed in the Divine Beginning realm all year round to guard the seal. After Taoist Xian God and the Heaven Ancestor obtained the Netherfire Blood Crystal, they left the Star Palace to help Jian Wushuang find the Supreme Treasure Divine Sword. As for the Temporal Temple Master, he also went to the Quicksand Demon area, one of the 3 battlefields. Now, only the Heaven Ancestor was still in the Star Palace. Little guy, why did you come to see me? The Heaven Ancestor looked at Jian Wushuang. I did. Jian Wushuang smiled. I just mastered a secret skill, but I don't know its exact power. That's why I wanted to practice it with you, Senior Heaven Ancestor. Is that so? The Heaven Ancestor raised his eyebrows. Then what do you need me to do? It's very simple. Senior Heaven Ancestor, you just need to attack me with all your strength, Jian Wushuang said. That's it. The Heaven Ancestor was stunned for a moment, but then he smiled and said, all right, but you have to be careful. After all, I'm a ruler, and my attacks are not something an ordinary person can withstand. I'm confident. Senior Heaven Ancestor, you just need to focus on your attacks, Jian Wushuang said with great confidence. All right, be careful. The Heaven Ancestor did not waste any time. He raised the axe in his hand, which had been chopping trees. Jian Wushuang had used this axe before, so it looked just like an ordinary mortal's axe, but now, in the hands of the Heaven Ancestor, it suddenly revealed an earth-shaking power. This power carried an extremely powerful aura. Supreme true treasure. Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks he had been cultivating with this axe for a long time and had thought that it was very ordinary. But now, it seemed that he was too weak to sense the real power of the axe. There were not many supreme true treasures, even among experts at the ruler realm, but the Heaven Ancestor had one. I'm coming. As soon as the Heaven Ancestor finished his words, he appeared in front of Jian Wushuang as if he had teleported. The axe he raised also fell straight down. Whoosh! It was a light axe, but the moment he swung it, he felt as if everything was torn apart. Seeing the axe falling down, Jian Wushuang did not move at all. He did not have any intention of waving his sword to block it. This kid isn't going to block it. The Heaven Ancestor frowned. Does he want to use his divine body to block my axe? Clang! The axe struck Jian Wushuang's body without any resistance. The terrifying power burst out and left a white mark on the armor on Jian Wushuang's body. However, Jian Wushuang still stood there unscathed until the power of the axe was completely exhausted. His expression did not change at all. How could it be? The Heaven Ancestor was shocked. "Ha ha, Heaven Ancestor, you put too much water in, right?" A voice with a smile sounded. "That's right. If you put too much water in, you'll lose face." Another gentle voice sounded. Two blurry figures appeared in the void out of thin air. These two people were, of course, Taoist Xian God and Temporal Temple Master. However, they were not their original bodies. They were just consciousness incarnations left in the Star Palace. Although they were consciousness avatars and did not have much battle strength, their vision was still there. "Senior Heaven Ancestor, how much strength did you use with your axe just now?" Jian Wushuang looked over. 10%, Heaven Ancestor said. He was worried that his attack would be too powerful and hurt Jian Wushuang, so he deliberately suppressed his strength. Although he only used 10% of his strength, an expert at the ruler realm could crush any principal's master under normal circumstances. Unexpectedly, only 10% of his strength. "No wonder I didn't feel anything," Jian Wushuang said. "You didn't feel anything?" The Heaven Ancestor was stunned. "Ha ha, Heaven Ancestor, you have to work harder. Otherwise, this little guy will look down on you." Taoist Xian God laughed very happily. "No, I don't mean to look down on Senior Heaven Ancestor. It's just that I really didn't feel anything from Senior Heaven Ancestor's axe just now." Jian Wushuang spread his hands and said, he was telling the truth. He had the Blood Demon Cave armor to protect him, so he could directly weaken the ruler realm attack by more than 90%. The remaining 10% of the power would be absorbed by his divine body, which meant that the strike from the Heaven Ancestor, only less than 1% of the power was used on his divine body. With his divine body, which was comparable to a supreme treasure, he could indeed ignore this 1% of the power. "Heaven Ancestor, try 50% of your strength," Temporal Temple Master said. "Okay." Heaven Ancestor nodded slightly. Before, he was afraid of hurting Jian Wushuang, so he did not dare to use too much strength. But now that he knew Jian Wushuang's ability to protect his body, he was not so cautious. Soon, Heaven Ancestor attacked again. Chapter 36:14. The divine body was comparable to a supreme treasure whoosh. The axe still swung out, and its speed was extremely fast. Like a bolt of lightning, it landed on Jian Wushuang's body in an instant. Rumble! A terrifying power burst out in an instant. The strike of the Heaven Ancestor, with 50% of its power, could be said to be earth-shattering. However, Jian Wushuang only trembled slightly and took 2 steps back, but he immediately stopped. How was it? The Heaven Ancestor, Taoist Xian God, and Temporal Temple Master all looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, it's much stronger than the previous strike. However, it still hasn't broken through the limit of my divine body. Jian Wushuang said. "What do you mean?" The Heaven Ancestor asked. "That is to say, Senior Heaven Ancestor, your axe didn't cause any damage to my divine body, so it can't destroy my divine power," Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang said it tactfully, but the 3 Heaven Ancestors immediately understood. "You didn't use any of your divine power? It's intact. How is that possible?" The Heaven Ancestor widened his eyes. Even Taoist Xian God and Temporal Temple Master were surprised. The Heaven Ancestor used 50% of his power to attack Jian Wushuang with his axe, but he still could not do any damage to Jian Wushuang. "Heaven Ancestor, use your full strength." Temporal Temple Master said in a low voice, "Yes, not only use your full strength, but also use the secret skill you created," Taoist Xian God said. "Okay." The Heaven Ancestor nodded solemnly, and his eyes became sharp. Use your full strength. Jian Wushuang licked his lips, but there was an excited smile on his face. Boom! The heaven ancestor's body shook, and his terrifying power burst out without any concealment. For a moment, the terrifying power of the ruler realm filled this special space. Indestructible, God-slayer, the heaven ancestor raised the huge axe in his hands at the same time. With a low shout, the huge axe was brought down. Hua! A shocking axe shadow appeared in this space-time. As soon as the axe shadow appeared, the space-time began to tremble crazily, as if it could not withstand the power. Indeed, although this space-time was created by the heaven ancestor, and its endurance was extraordinary, the heaven ancestor was giving it his all. Furthermore, he had used his ultimate technique. This was the full power attack of a ruler realm expert. It was normal that the space-time could not withstand it. Good timing. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up when he saw the axe shadow coming at him. However, he had no intention of dodging it. He just stood there quietly and let the axe shadow come at him. His heart was filled with anticipation. Don't disappoint me with the supreme, imperishable celestial body. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks with endless anticipation, the earth-shaking axe finally struck his divine body. In an instant rumble, a large area of space cracks appeared, and the space began to collapse crazily. In the center of the space-time, Jian Wushuang was immediately sent flying. He was sent flying to the edge of the space-time and crashed into the space-time barrier. The astonishing power contained in the axe also rushed into Jian Wushuang's divine body. Jian Wushuang stood there with his eyes closed. In the void in front of him, Taoist Xian God, temporal temple master, and the heaven ancestor had stood together again. They all frowned slightly. I wonder how the little guy is doing. Temporal temple master said, with some worry. If the heaven ancestor's axe didn't hurt him at all, he should be fine even if it did. Taoist Xian God said, You two asked me to use all my strength. Don't blame me if I hurt him badly. The heaven ancestor rolled his eyes and said, While the three of them were waiting, Jian Wushuang finally opened his eyes and rushed in front of them. Little guy, how was the result? Taoist Xian God immediately looked over. As expected of senior heaven ancestor, the power of the axe just now was indeed very strong. It could already hurt me, Jian Wushuang said. Hurt you? The heaven ancestor looked strange. How badly? Well, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Let me use up 1,000th of my divine power. Excuse me? Heaven ancestor, Taoist Xian God, time and temporal temple master are all stunned. 1 in 10,000. An expert at the level of a ruler attacked Jian Wushuang with all his strength without any hindrance. As a result, Jian Wushuang only lost 1/10 of his divine power. 1 in 10,000. How could that be called a loss? Little guy, is what you said true? Did you really only use 1 out of 10,000 of your divine power? Taoist Xian God looked at Jian Wushuang with a strange expression. That's true. Jian Wushuang nodded. Senior heaven ancestor's attack just exceeded the limit of my divine body and caused a little damage to my divine body. I only used 1/10,000 of my divine power to completely recover from this little damage. Impossible! This is impossible! Heaven ancestor shook his head crazily. He growled, Even an expert at the same level as a ruler who is good at defense can't only use 1 out of 10,000 of his divine power as long as he doesn't have a supreme, true treasure armor. What he said was the truth. The full-strength strike of a ruler realm expert was so powerful that even a ruler would suffer some damage if he took it head-on. But what Jian Wushuang said now was only 1,000th of his divine power, which was incredible. Senior Heaven Ancestor, you don't have to be amazed. Jian Wushuang smiled. During my years in Devil's Smoke Valley, I've indeed obtained an extraordinary opportunity. One of them is an incomparably powerful body-refining secret technique. This secret technique is of an extremely high level. The list I gave you before is the list of the natural treasures needed to cultivate this secret technique. Now, the first level of that secret technique has already been refined by me, and after refining it, my godly body is already comparable to a low-level universe true treasure. What? Taoist, Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor were all shocked. A supreme treasure. Little guy, you said your divine body is comparable to a universe supreme treasure. The three masters looked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. It's like this. Jian Wushuang nodded again. It's because my divine body is comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure that I dared to withstand the attack of Senior Heaven Ancestor. The power of the Heaven Ancestors' acts just now was indeed extremely powerful. However, I have the supreme true treasure armor to protect my body. The power of the supreme true treasure armor was reduced by more than 90% at the first moment. Less than 10% of the power of the axe was used on my divine body. My divine body is comparable to an elementary universe true treasure, so less than 10% of the power was barely able to reach my limit. That's why it caused me a bit of damage. Chapter 36:15. Walk horizontally. Jian Wushuang had explained in great detail how he had received the blow, and it was the truth. However, Taoist, Xian God, Temporal Temple Master, and Heaven Ancestor were still confused and shocked. After a long time, the three finally managed to regain their senses, but their faces were still filled with shock and disbelief. A godly body comparable to a universe supreme treasure? This is simply inconceivable. That's right. We've roamed this territory for so long, and we've come into contact with some of the surrounding territories, but we've never heard of anyone with a godly body that's as powerful as a universe supreme treasure. Incredible, truly incredible. The three rulers were also very excited at this moment. After a while, little guy, you just said that you've only mastered the first level of the secret skill? Temporal Temple Master suddenly looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. The level of the secret skill is very high. Just by mastering the first level of the divine body, it can be comparable to an elementary universe true treasure, and by mastering the second level, it can be comparable to an advanced universe true treasure, and so on. Unfortunately, the threshold for cultivating the secret skill is very high. The first level alone requires a principles master to cultivate it. I can barely master the first level because of my perfect life form. In addition, during the process of cultivating this secret art, you will need some natural treasures to assist you. In addition, these natural treasures are extremely rare and precious. For example, the first level's natural treasures can be acquired in our territory, but the second level's natural treasures are hundreds of times more valuable and rare than the first level's natural treasures. It is virtually impossible to find them in this territory. In other words, you can only cultivate the first level in this territory. Taoist Xian God asked, yes, if you want to cultivate the second level, you have to leave this territory and go to the deepest part of the universe. Only there can you find the genius earthly treasures needed to cultivate the second level, Jian Wushuang said. That's a pity. Taoist Xian God sighed. Yes, the first level alone is so heaven-defying. If you have the chance to cultivate the second level, then you are truly invincible in this territory. Your divine body is comparable to an advanced universe supreme treasure. Who can shake it? The heaven ancestor also sighed. However, even if you can't cultivate the second level, just the first level alone is already incredible. This is definitely a big surprise for us, Temporal Temple Master said. Yes, a big surprise. This is definitely a big surprise. Taoist Shen God was also excited. A divine body comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure, coupled with a pinnacle universe supreme treasure armor. Even if you take a full-strength attack from a ruler realm expert, you only use 1/10 of your divine power. This means that you can completely ignore an ordinary elementary ruler. Even if you stand in front of him, he probably won't be able to do anything to you. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but smile. Indeed, he had now experienced two primary rulers. One was the tall man from the Three Saint Realms who had ambushed him in Devil Smoke Valley, and the other was the Heaven Ancestor. In terms of strength, the tall man from the Three Saint Realms was probably stronger, but he was definitely not much stronger. Now that the Heaven Ancestor's full-strength attack had hit his body, it had only consumed 1 out of 10,000 of his divine power. It was like scratching an itch and could not shake him at all. After all, the speed at which he absorbed divine power was even faster than this, and that tall man's full-strength attack could only cause 2 out of 10,000 damage to him at most. It still could not affect him much. Besides, if he were to really fight against a ruler, there was no way he would just stand there and allow his opponent to attack him. If that was the case, then in this territory, a junior ruler really would not be able to do anything to him. It's not just a junior ruler. Even a senior ruler like the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master wouldn't be able to do anything to your godly body, Taoist Xian God said with a laugh. Yes, with your current divine body and the protection of your supreme true treasure armor, you can completely ignore a primary ruler. As for a senior ruler, he can barely hurt you, but it's impossible for him to threaten your life. Even if 2 or 3 senior rulers joined forces, it would be difficult for them to kill you. The only one who can really threaten you is probably a top-tier ruler, but as far as I know, there's only one such ruler in this territory, and that ruler has always paid attention to his status. He doesn't have any enmity with my Star Palace, so he won't come to deal with you for no reason. In other words, you can almost do whatever you want in this territory now, the Heaven Ancestor said with a smile. Jian Wushuang also smiled. He knew that once he mastered the first level of the Supreme Eternal Celestial Body, his life-saving ability would be greatly enhanced. In this territory, there were very few people who could kill him. At least, he did not have to care too much about ordinary rulers. Of course, you should not be too conceited. After all, the Devil Cloud Star Master definitely has the strength to kill you, Taoist Xian God suddenly said. Jian Wushuang was stunned, and his expression became serious. Indeed, his biggest enemy, Devil Cloud Star Master, was a master of a second-grade star world. He had dozens of masters under his command, and experts of that level had long reached the peak of the master realm. Of course, they had the strength to kill him. Not only that, as far as I know, Devil Cloud Star Master also has an extremely special supreme treasure in his hand. That supreme treasure is different from the others, and it has an extremely special power. That power is the bane of all special life forms. When the 7-star mysterious sect was destroyed, Xian Yi was heavily injured by that supreme treasure and lost most of his divine power, which was why he died. Dao Xian, God said seriously. Upon hearing this, Jian Wushuang's pupils shrank. Senior Xian God, is the supreme treasure you mentioned a spear? Jian Wushuang asked. Yes, you know it? Taoist Xian God looked at him in surprise. I was lucky enough to see a picture of that battle in the 7-star divine realm. In the picture, My master Xian Yi was pierced through the heart by a spear. That attack should be fatal to him, Jian Wushuang said. Yes, it was that spear that caused your master Xian Yi's death. Taoist Xian God said seriously, your master Xian Yi is also a peerless genius. He has also obtained many great opportunities. Not only is his strength extremely strong, but he also has perfect control over the mountain river map as a supreme treasure. At the same time, he also obtained a heaven suppression tablet by chance. Chapter 36:16. The Heaven Suppressing Tablet. Heaven Suppressing Tablet? Jian Wushuang's pupils constricted. Of course, he was familiar with the Heaven Suppressing Tablet. In his previous life, Di Shusan had taken him to a Heaven Suppressing Tablet, and through it, he had obtained an extraordinary opportunity. At that time, he had heard from Di Shusan that there were 9 Heaven Suppression Tablets, and one alone was enough to shock the world. If the 9 Heaven Suppression Tablets were gathered together, they could suppress the world. One could imagine how powerful the Heaven Suppression Tablet was. The Mountain River Map, the 2 supreme treasures Xian Yi had, is the most powerful one in the domain category. It should be in your hands now. Taoist Xian God looked at Jian Wushuang. Yes, it's in my hands. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. The Mountain River Map had been his most powerful supreme treasure since his last life. It was also one of his most powerful trump cards. He would not use it unless it was absolutely necessary. After all, he knew that this supreme treasure was extraordinary. In addition, he had never fully exerted the power of this supreme treasure since he got it. Even when he was on Saha Island, the power of the entire blood wave realm was infused into his body because of the blood waves. It had allowed him to possess the combat power of a ruler for a short period of time. However, even so, he was still unable to fully unleash the power of the Mountain River Map. For example, the most terrifying killing move of the Mountain River Map, the 9 Dragons Heaven-Cleaving Great Formation, had only been able to unleash the 2 Dragons Heaven-Cleaving Great Formation. One had to know that the most powerful move of the 9 Dragons Heaven-Cleaving Great Formation was the 9 Dragons Heaven-Cleaving Great Formation. Moreover, the Mountain River Map was a domain-type supreme treasure. Its most terrifying technique was a domain, not an offensive technique. However, the most powerful domain of the Mountain River Map, he could not use it. A domain-type supreme treasure? Master really gave me a good treasure, Jian Wushuang sighed. He had never been clear about the level of the Mountain River Map. Before he came to the universe battlefield, he thought the map was a top-tier universe supreme treasure, but after arriving here, he immediately changed his mind. After all, he had come into contact with many supreme treasures. A top-tier universe supreme treasure could never have such tyrannical power and could not be used by him. Therefore, Jian Wushuang had guessed at that time that the Mountain River Map might be a supreme true treasure. Now, it seemed that it was true. A supreme treasure, a domain-type supreme treasure, might not be able to unleash its full power even if it was a ruler realm expert. He was just a saint, and even if he had the invincible battle strength of a principal's master, how could he unleash its full power? As a domain-type supreme treasure, the Mountain River Map is coveted by countless ruler realm experts. Back then, Xian Yi relied on this supreme treasure to fight against several rulers at the same time. However, the Mountain River Map was not Xian Yi's supreme treasure. His true supreme treasure was still the Heaven Suppression Tablet. Taoist Xian God's voice was low. The heaven-suppressing monoliths were obtained by Xian Yi from the core of the Quicksand Demon Realm, one of the 3 great battlefields. There were a total of 9 heaven-suppressing monoliths, and only 3 of them appeared in the Quicksand Demon Realm. However, even if only 3 of them appeared in the Quicksand Demon Realm, the commotion they caused was still unbelievably huge. As he spoke up to this point, Taoist Xian God could not help but exclaim in admiration, "Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site." Thanks, that was indeed a huge commotion. The temporal temple master nodded. As well. The 3 great battlefields have existed in this territory for so many years, and countless treasures have been born within them. Even supreme treasures have been born before. Every time a supreme treasure is born, there will be some commotion. However, there has never been a supreme treasure that has been born that is comparable to the birth of the heaven-suppressing tablet. That scene not only shocked the entire quicksand demon area, but even the other 2 battlefields and the territory wherein can sense the astonishing energy fluctuation. The entire territory can sense the fluctuation. Jian Wushuang was shocked. After all, the territory he was in was extremely vast. There were dozens of astral worlds, and these astral worlds were connected to each other. Even him, who traveled at the speed of a principal's master, it would take hundreds or even thousands of years to reach here. These were only 2 astral worlds that were connected to each other. From this, one could imagine how vast the entire territory was. However, when the heaven-suppressing tablet appeared, the commotion it caused could actually affect the entire territory. At that time, the commotion was too great, causing all the experts in this territory to be alarmed. Countless experts even dared to head into the depths of the quicksand demon realm like madmen, including many rulers. In the end, it caused the most intense battle in this territory. During that battle, I remember that there were a total of 18 rulers who participated in it. As for the principal's masters, there were countless of them. There were so many experts who wanted to obtain the heaven-suppressing monument, yet there were only 3. Hence, the frenzied battle began. In the end, the 3 rulers died on the spot. As for the principal's masters, a large number of them died. No one even bothered to count them. In the end, 2 of the 3 heaven suppression tablets fell into the hands of 2 extremely powerful rulers in this territory. As for the other one, it was obtained by your master Xian Yi. Master actually obtained a heaven suppression tablet from that multi-ruler expert. Jian Wushuang could not help exclaiming. He knew that his master was only a principal's master at his peak. Although his battle strength was comparable to a ruler, there were a total of 18 rulers on the battlefield. In the end, a total of 3 rulers died. How difficult would it be to obtain a heaven suppression tablet from that multiple ruler? At that time, your master's combat power was only comparable to that of a low-level ruler. He was considered average among the 18 rulers. However, he had many tricks up his sleeve, and his life-saving abilities were even more impressive. Most importantly, he still had the Mountain River country map, a domain-type supreme true treasure. In addition, he was only a principal's master. Those rulers didn't guard against him in the beginning, which was why he was able to succeed. Taoist Xian God smiled and said, when your master obtained the heaven-suppressing tablet, his strength reached a whole new level, and he could even rival a superior ruler. What? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Why? Isn't it incredible? Taoist Xian God looked at Jian Wushuang with a smile. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. According to Taoist Xian God, his master was only comparable to a primary ruler at that time. However, after obtaining the heaven-suppressing tablet, he was now comparable to a superior ruler. A superior ruler was 2 levels higher than a primary ruler, and there were probably no more than 3 such rulers in this territory. A treasure could allow Xian Yi's battle strength to go from a primary ruler to a superior ruler and directly match a superior ruler. Chapter 36:17. 3,000 years of closed-door cultivation. What level is the heaven suppression tablet? Jian Wushuang asked in shock. The heaven suppression tablet was so terrifying that someone with the battle strength of a primary ruler could instantly rival a superior ruler. I don't know what level it is, but I'm sure it's more powerful than a supreme treasure. Only supreme beings are qualified to use such a treasure. Taoist Shen God paused for a moment. Then he said, seriously, little guy, there's only one reason why I'm telling you so much. Your master is as strong as a superior ruler. Although he doesn't have your terrifying divine body, which is comparable to an elementary universe supreme treasure, the treasure in his hand is extremely powerful. Even so, he still died under that special spear. There's no room for struggle, so you must be very vigilant against that spear. In the future, if you meet an expert invited by the 3 Saint Realms and see him take out a strange spear, don't hesitate and run away immediately. You understand? I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. He knew that it was the existence of that special spear that caused his master's death. He did not want to follow in his master's footsteps. Of course, he had to be wary of that spear, which had a great restraining effect on any special life form. By the way, I've seen Master's heaven-suppressing tablet before. Jian Wushuang said, it's not strange. Taoist Shen God smiled. Although your master died, he left a way out for the 7-star mysterious sect. He sealed the entire 7-star divine realm and kept all his treasures. He gave you the mountain river map, but the heaven suppression tablet is too high level. You were too weak to refine it. But the heaven suppression tablet must be left to you in the end. After you break through to become a principal's master and break the seal, you can go to the heaven suppression tablet and try to refine it. Once you refine the heaven suppression tablet, your strength will certainly reach a new level. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. The heaven suppression tablet. Jian Wushuang had a trace of desire in his heart to make Xian Yi, who only had the strength of a primary ruler, a supreme treasure that could rival a superior ruler in one leap. Well, continue to cultivate. Taoist Shen God waved his hand and said. Jian Wushuang bowed respectfully to the 3 rulers in front of him and then turned to leave. After Jian Wushuang left, the 3 rulers began to chat again. This little guy is worthy of being created by Xian Yi, who gathered all the heavenly Tao and good fortune in the 7-star divine realm and the divine beginning realm. He is even more blessed than Xian Yi, Taoist Shen God said. Yes, a body-refining secret skill that can make your divine body comparable to a universe supreme treasure. I've never heard of it before. It's too abnormal. Such a secret skill must come from the deepest part of the universe. In the deepest part of the universe, only some big forces can have it. To be able to get such a secret skill, it's really extraordinary. The heaven ancestor side. Not only that, he also had a special opportunity in the blood wave realm. The master of the blood wave realm is undoubtedly a super powerful warrior from the depths of the universe. However, such a powerful warrior helped him with all his strength during the battle on the Saha Island. He even caused the entire blood wave realm to collapse. It can be seen that their relationship is no small matter. After he came out from the blood wave realm, his power has soared. It can be seen that the opportunity he got in the blood wave realm is not small either. Temporal Temple Master chuckled. He already has a heaven-defying opportunity. With the help of us and the things Xianyi prepared for him, he has thousands of opportunities in his body. If he can't take the final step, there won't be anyone else in the divine beginning realm who has the same opportunity as him. The 3 sighed. Soon, Taoist Shen God and Temporal Temple Master gradually disappeared. The heaven ancestor continued to pick up the axe in his hand and began to chop the trees next to him. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, Jian Wushuang returned to the courtyard where he lived, but his heart was still very heavy. The supreme-level immortal Xian body did not disappoint me. It's comparable to a divine body of an elementary universe supreme treasure, so I don't have to care about ordinary elementary rulers or even advanced rulers now. However, just as Senior Xian God said, Devil Cloud Star has a treasure that is specialized in restraining special life forms. My master died under that long spear. Although my current body protection ability may be stronger than my master's, that long spear can still pose a fatal threat to me. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands. Keep cultivating. I need to fuse the 3 rules as soon as possible and break through to become a principal's master. When that happens, my strength will skyrocket. If I can refine the Heaven Suppression Tablet again, I might be even stronger than my master when he was at his peak. By then, even if my opponent has the special spear, as long as the real body of Devil Cloud Star Master doesn't arrive personally, it shouldn't be able to pose a fatal threat to me. After taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang began to cultivate in seclusion again. This time, he was in seclusion purely to merge the 3 rules and break through to become a principal's master. Moreover, he had made up his mind that he would not come out of seclusion until he had completely merged the 3 principles. Time passed quietly. The merging of the 3 principles was dozens or even hundreds of times more difficult than the previous 2 principles. However, Jian Wushuang had already mastered the destruction will. After so many years of groping, especially when he was trapped in the 18 Ultimate Formation, the breakthrough in Sword Principle triggered the universe origin of Sword Principle. Although the universe origin was in the aspect of Sword Principle, it was more or less helpful to the various principles of heaven and earth. Because of this, he had already made some progress in the fusion of the 3 principles. Now, he had obtained a large number of treasures from the Supreme Treasure Vault that combined the destruction principles, the space-time principles, and the samsara principles. This allowed him to go further and further in the fusion of the 3 principles. It was not until the 3,000th year of Jian Wushuang's seclusion. Finally, he had completely fused the 3 principles he had comprehended. The 3 principles of destruction, space-time, and samsara are perfectly fused. Jian Wushuang sat in the secret chamber with his eyes open, but his eyes were full of surprise and excitement. After 3,000 years of secluded cultivation, he had finally taken this step and perfectly integrated the 3 principles. At the moment of integration, he immediately gained an additional power of will. However, this power of will was not what Jian Wushuang really wanted. What he wanted was to break through the bottleneck that had troubled him for a long time. As I expected, after the 3 rules were merged, I could clearly sense where the bottleneck was. What I have to do now is to force a breakthrough. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed. Let's begin. The Principle's Master's Breakthrough began. Chapter 3618. Breakthrough the perfect fusion of the 3 principles had long exceeded the requirements for an immortal saint to break through to the Principle's master realm. Even though Jian Wushuang was a perfect being and was extremely restricted by the universe principles after the fusion of the 3 principles, he had finally met the requirements for the breakthrough. What he lacked now was a final kick. He had to forcefully kick it away. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang's face was cold, and his divine power surged. At the same time, a light cyan divine sword appeared in his hand. This light cyan divine sword was the pinnacle universe supreme treasure he had obtained from the Supreme Treasure Vault. It was called the Cyan Spirit Divine Sword. Compared to the many divine swords he had used before, its blade was not as sharp as before. Such a divine sword would allow Jian Wushuang to display the strongest tearing effect when he used the sword art of laceration. However, the sword with a thicker body was stronger under the gravitational force, so its power was naturally much stronger. Break for me! With a low shout, Jian Wushuang's three principles merged divine power crazily rushed toward the barrier in his body. At the same time, he swung the Cyan Spirit Divine sword in his hand. It was the most powerful skill that Jian Wushuang had created. Starfire Burning Sun. Boom! The space trembled, and Jian Wushuang's body roared crazily. After a while, the barrier in his body collapsed. I've made a breakthrough. Jian Wushuang was overjoyed. In fact, it was quite normal. He had already met the requirements for a breakthrough. In addition, he had accumulated enough power before, so it was natural for him to make a breakthrough. As he made a breakthrough, the vast and majestic divine power in his body surged and began to change qualitatively. During the process of the divine power's transformation, the divine power gathered in his body also increased at an incredible speed. The Star Palace, that special tower, was the tower where the Empyrean Patriarch was located. Within the special space on the top floor of the tower, the forest had already disappeared. What replaced it was an enormous estate. This estate was incredibly beautiful and majestic. In the center of the estate was a stone pavilion. Taoist Xian God, the temporal temple master, and the Empyrean Patriarch were seated together, casually drinking tea while chatting. That little fellow has been in closed-door training for 3,000 years, right? The Empyrean Patriarch said slowly, right, it has been 3,000 years. It seems he intends to completely break through to become a principles master before coming out. I wonder how long he will need, the temporal temple master said. There's no rush. Taoist Xian God just smiled. A long time ago, I sent some people to the territory which Devil Cloud Star is located in. I've been keeping an eye on Devil Cloud Star's movements, and from the information I've received, Devil Cloud Star doesn't have any intentions of personally coming to our territory. He doesn't even have any intentions of sending a few rulers here. As long as Devil Cloud Star doesn't come here in person, we have nothing to worry about. Come and read on our website, Wuxia World site. Thanks, that's true. Temporal Temple Master nodded slightly. They already knew that Devil Cloud Star had sent 3 rulers to this territory, and that they were staying on the sacred island. However, they did not care about these 3 rulers, even if they were very strong. Moreover, they were not worried about bringing the spear that could restrain Jian Wushuang. With Jian Wushuang's current life-saving skills, it would be too difficult to kill him. What they were afraid of now was Devil Cloud Star Master, who had reached the peak of the ruler realm. If their original body came in person, together with the spear that could restrain Jian Wushuang, that would be a fatal threat to Jian Wushuang. However, since Devil Cloud Star Master did not intend to come to this territory, they were not worried. Not only that, they also said that Devil Cloud Star seems to have caused some trouble recently. The entire planet is very busy. I'm afraid that we won't be able to take care of our territory in a short time, Taoist Xian God said with a smile. Haha, that's great. Temporal Temple Master was overjoyed. This is indeed good news for us. The Heaven Ancestor nodded solemnly. As long as the original body of the Devil Cloud Star Master did not arrive in this territory, they would have one more day to prepare. Jian Wushuang could also have one more day to improve his strength. If the Devil Cloud Star Master delayed for tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years before coming here, that would be even better. After all, with Jian Wushuang's talent and speed of improvement, he might have become a ruler in hundreds of thousands of years. By that time, even if Devil Cloud Star Master noticed it, it would be too late for him to rush over. I just hope that Devil Cloud Star Master can't get away. He can't worry about this place, and give the little guy enough time. Even better, he might as well give up on the divine, beginning realm completely, Taoist Xian God said. Give up on the divine beginning realm. How is that possible? Temporal Temple Master sneered. To possess an astral world and comprehend the workings and evolution of an astral world is a tremendous opportunity. Even many top rulers and even legendary autarchs would covet it. Why would he give up? Not necessarily. You have to understand that the reason why Planet Devil Cloud Star Master is so crazy about accelerating the evolution of the Divine Beginning Realm is because he wants to squeeze out the potential of the Divine Beginning Realm in order to break through as soon as possible. However, if he has truly broken through and Moyen has caused trouble for his flawless clone, he might really give up on this place. Taoist Xian God said, how can there be so many ifs in this world? In my opinion, it's absolutely impossible for him to give up on the divine beginning realm, the heaven ancestor said seriously. I was just casually saying that. Taoist Xian God smiled, awkwardly. Let's not talk about this for now. The temporal temple master waved his hand. Black God, you said earlier that you wanted to get that little fellow a suitable supreme attack treasure. What was the result? That supreme treasure is a bit troublesome, said Taoist Xian God. Why? Can I get it? Temporal Temple Master frowned slightly. A supreme treasure was much more powerful than a pinnacle supreme treasure. Jian Wushuang only had a pinnacle supreme treasure divine sword, which he had just obtained. However, if Jian Wushuang could get a supreme treasure divine weapon that was suitable for him, then his attack would definitely be improved. It was going to be a big step up. I can't say that I can't get it at all. It's just that there are some problems, and I can't solve them either. Taoist Xian God pondered for a moment before saying, in short, there are some twists and turns in this process, or wait for the little guy to come out of seclusion. I will tell him in detail. Yes, the temporal temple master and the heaven ancestor all nodded. Two people also did not continue to inquire. And right at this moment, boom, the entire world suddenly shook.